good.
Okay. It sounds good. Well, good evening, everybody. We're here for the public meeting of the Danvers Planning Board tonight, September 24th, 2024, 7 p.m. here at Danvers Town Hall. My name is Louis George. I'm the chair of the Planning Board. I'm here with Jean Hartnett, who's our clerk, Jim Sears, Tim Spittle, and Mike DeCoulis. And so we have a pretty full agenda tonight. Before we begin, I just wanted, we have not met since I believe our last meeting was in the July 16th, and I just wanted to take a moment and make a note that at the end of July, Bill Nicholson passed away. Those of you that know who knew Bill, he served in a number of volunteer capacities in the town, including on the planning board, on the river committee, the zoning board of appeals, town meeting for a number of years. And so he also served on the select board as well. So I didn't serve with Bill on planning board, but I served with him on river committee. He served with my dad on the select board. And so I just wanted to take a moment and just to acknowledge his passing. He was a gentleman, and Danvers was the better for his service. So, thank you. Okay. And I think before we move on here, I wanted to, our first agenda item is the Isle of Skye Estates definitive subdivision, Scotland Road, previously known as 105 Dayton Street. This is the tripartite agreement and performance guarantee. And I think we don't have anyone presenting aside from, I believe, town staff has a few things to say about this matter.
I'm just going to confuse myself.
Yes.
Okay. Yep, Jim Sears will be recusing himself from this.
Very good. If you can hear me, very good. Yeah, so the subdivision was last in front of the board in September of 2022. And there are a number of, basically there has been little to no work associated with improving, moving forward with this project from the subdivision piece since that time. Mm-hmm. So in consultation with the engineering department, we decided that due to the rising costs of materials and construction materials, and after reaching out to the developer, we thought the best decision to move forward would be to essentially request the remaining money in the tripartite agreement, which is $77,090.70, to essentially for the town to request it from the bank, because work hasn't been done, and the town would do its best to complete the remaining items.
Okay.
So.
Okay, very good. So on this is not a public hearing, and so this is just I guess a matter of. I'll turn it over to the board if the board has any questions for town staff with respect to this request. So again, this is a request to use the funds from, and this is the remainder of the funds, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, I'll turn it to the board. Any questions? Jean, do you have any questions?
You talked to the contractor?
We've tried. We've reached out several times. Unfortunately, it seems that I do not believe that the work will probably be complete by the individual or the developer. So,
okay.
Yes, there has been several attempted correspondence. We did have at least one meeting in person over the past 2 years, but it doesn't seem like that situation's gonna work itself out. So.
And it was 77,000. The decision says 70,000.
Oh, okay. I'll edit I'll make sure that the amount is accurate when it's sent to the bank. Yep.
Just a point of clarification, is the amount in question is 77,090.70, is that correct? That's per the engineering memo.
Yes, and that should have been the amount. in the, yeah. Let me just give me like 30 seconds, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, so it should say 77,090.70. So that's correct. Yep. Thank you for clarifying, confirming that.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Tim, any questions at all?
So the 77,000 will complete the work fully?
Yeah.
Not,
Or, because
so,
Well,
yeah,
please, this
there's
is-
quite a large list of items here, and so I mean, I
Yeah.
can try to
Yeah.
deduce what
Sure.
it means, but what will that get us to?
yeah.
the
So,
77,000?
I'm not an expert on all these items, but I think in consultation with the town engineer, I think from the town, and I don't want to speak for him, but in terms of hierarchy, I think that like a final paving, and making sure like the road is constructed as, as best possible, like a final coat of pavement and the associated probably curbing, making sure like the stormwater, the catch basins are all, done correctly is basically, the most important, I think, from his viewpoint. And so I think where we sit, we're trying to do what we feel is, the most important or most crucial items that are remaining. And then if there is hopefully anything remaining, we would do kind of like like the smaller, more minor items, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what would be left after the 77,000?
So I think kind of like the lower.
Sorry, I meant in terms of balance.
Oh, so we would, the town would be, we were requesting all the remaining balance.
That's it,
Yeah,
77?
yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Other questions?
Mike, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
No questions? My question, just in terms of the, just in terms of the, in terms of the amount, so this is the, as Tim alluded to, this is the remaining funds that are on account, and they're well overdue by more than a year, is that correct? Or 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, the last tripartite agreement, I think it was even the fall of, this was, yeah, I believe that this was supposed to have been completed at least either the summer or the fall of 2003. Let me see the last tripartite agreement.
20 years ago?
Yeah, so it looks like it should, the last on paper tripartite agreement was supposed to be complete September 30th, 2023.
September 30th, okay, 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's well overdue, so, okay. Okay, I don't have any further questions. So what's needed from us is a decision that will take the remaining funds for the completion of this work and pulls the remaining funds that's part of the tripartite agreement.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, and does the clerk have a motion to make?
Should I just read this whole thing?
Yeah, I need to read the whole thing. Yep.
Okay.
You could start at we, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yep.
We, the Danvers Planning Board, find that 115 Dayton Street LLC has failed to complete the installation of the municipal services and ways necessary to serve the Isle of Skye definitive subdivision as depicted in the Engineering Division Memorandum, subdivision bond estimate dated September 12th, 2022. We, the Danvers Planning Board, request the $1,090.70 in funds from the tripartite agreement from Reading Cooperative Bank for the completion of the subdivision, as stated in the tripartite agreement voted by the Planning Board on October 29th, 2019. In the event the developer's obligations are not completed within the time set forth in paragraph 4 above, June 30th, 2021, or as extended, or if the work undertaken by the developer pursuant to the developer's obligation is not completed in a manner satisfactory to the board in accordance with the rules and regulations and this agreement, any of the withheld funds remaining undisbursed shall, upon written request of the board, be made available in whole or in part to the board for the completion of the developer's obligations. The developer shall be deemed to have authorized the release of said funds for said purpose.
Very good. Motion has been made. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Tim. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. And Jim Sears did not recuse himself from this. Okay, very good. This was not a public hearing on this, so.
So
Oh, please.
I just had a question.
Why- Sorry.
I'd recommend maybe if people had questions, maybe they could reach out to me during the day. Josh Morris, you could email me or call me tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
We recommend a
Well-
public hearing on this, knowing the money that you guys have just motioned to bring in. Appreciate that. The scale of the project in question, I think.
Do you mind going to the microphone?
Yeah, do you mind going to the microphone, please?
Yeah, yeah.
This is not a public hearing,
I
so-
appreciate that, and
Yes.
I appreciate the 2 minutes, and
I appreciate being here.
I thank you for being proactive.
Could you identify yourself?
Sorry. My name is Tom, part of the community.
Could
Tom
you
Hill
give your
from-
last name, please?
Tom Hill, Scotland Road. So appreciate you guys being proactive and taking the first step forward, which is really taking the remaining funds and reallocating it. So thank you. That's step one. What we'd like to do, knowing the funds and knowing the scale and the intensity of the scope that is remaining that developer failed to perform, we want to be able to have a public hearing and outline the key things that are there. I don't know how far the engineering or the DPW team have gone and researched the current condition of the work, but there definitely needs to be some collaboration on what we put the right approach on. It's affecting the abutters on Putnam Street, and it's also affecting us as the residents on Scotland. So I do appreciate you guys transferring that money over, but I
Sure.
do think we need more of a public setting on really identifying the key items we need to address, and then also what is not getting addressed. It was obviously a conditions of satisfaction that this developer entered in with the abutting community that was not satisfied or represented properly. And from us who are in that street, there's quality of work that was never performed as well. And there are two different sides of that conversation. And I feel that if we could set up a public hearing and get everyone's feedback, let's really put a collaborative effort on, one, exercising that remaining monies, and then is there a bond or anything else left that can be exercised to kind of satisfy those conditions that were left unintended?
Well, that's what's taking place here today in terms of that was the tripartite agreement, which had funds available. But I do recommend, as Josh Morris mentioned, I think reaching out to town staff at the planning office.
Yep.
And to at least to start that conversation.
Yeah, and like I said, you guys taking the proactive effort, we all appreciate that. We just want to keep that collaborative conversation going so that that money is just not allocated to paving that doesn't last us more than 4 or 5 years, based off the current condition, and also satisfying some of the conditions that the abutting community on Putnam is also experienced as well. Want to kind of put that both on the table.
No, I understand that, and I appreciate you all coming today as well and raising your hand and mentioning that too as well. So again, Josh, could they reach out to?
Yeah, absolutely.
To town staff?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
And Josh would be the point of contact for that?
Sure.
Excellent.
Josh Morris.
Thank you again.
Can we hire a third-party engineer to have the road, because the road is junk? You guys are just throwing the 77,000 at a road that's gonna break up. I mean, I'm in construction,
Again, I would recommend you reach out to,
John Morris, all right.
I'd recommend reaching out to Josh Morris at town staff for any further discussions. We do have to move on. This is not on the agenda here, so aside from just this this bond matter. So.
Just one point. I've been in contact with,
Could you go up to the and just announce your name?
I'm Steve Parent. I live at 6 Putnam Lane. I'm in a butter. there were certain conditions that were supposed to be made at the completion of this project. I've been in contact and I've met the town engineer several times. He's walked the property with me. He's walked my yard with, and you know, at each time that we've spoken, is that okay? This happened to be, you know, a year and a half ago. All right, if it's not done by January, the town's coming in to take over, will take care of all the needs that have to take over. Now, this has happened on 2 different occasions.
Right.
And so, again, I've reached out to the town without any clear objective of what's going to take place over the next, how many more years?
Well, this step is, the first step here has taken place in terms of the board has voted on the, with respect to the performance guarantee. So that step has been taken. So I'd recommend for any, subsequent steps, I would reach out again to town planning staff. Josh Morris, as we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Okay, very good. So we're going to move on to the next agenda item here. It's a public hearing of 55 Liberty Street, a request for site plan review pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaw, submitted by 55 Liberty Street LLC for property in the residential 2 R2 zoning district. The applicant proposes to construct a daycare facility, Table 4, and associated site modifications, map 52, lot 46, and I've been advised by town staff that there's a request to continue.
Yes, that's right. Late this afternoon, we received an email from the development team requesting a continuance, not to our next scheduled meeting, which is on October 8th, which I could get in, there's a reason why, but to the second scheduled meeting in October, which is October 22nd.
Okay. And just a question with respect to action on
Yeah.
that. So this, it's my understanding under our bylaws, this would be moving the date of the hearing will also move the action deadline. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't, when we updated the bylaw recently, we sort of got rid of the action deadline sort of procedural issues, so that isn't applicable in this situation.
Okay, very good. I know town staff has said, I know the applicant is here, so how do we want to do this?
So we need the board to basically just make a motion to continue this item to that meeting on the 20th. Yeah.
Before we do, the applicant, Attorney McCann, did you have anything to add at all to it?
Thank you, Nancy McCann, here on behalf of the applicant. No, I really don't have anything to
Okay.
add now that I've walked up here. We are working with planning staff, and the reason for the request is so that we could work through the comments from the engineering department in October. We would probably be ready at the earlier meeting in October, but I understand hearings are being continued to the 22nd, so that's fine with us, too.
Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds great, thank you. Okay, well then, I think we would need to, entertain a motion. Jean, would you like to make a motion to reschedule?
Sure. I make,
Rather, to continue, rather.
Yeah.
make a motion that we continue 55 Liberty Street to the October 22nd meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made. There's been a second by Jim. Okay, very good. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, it's been continued to October 22nd. Okay. So the next agenda item is a public hearing on 1149 and 55 Newbury Street, Route 1, the request for special permit and site plan review submitted by Costco Wholesale Corporation for property at 11 Newbury Street, map 5504, 49 Newbury Street, map 48, lot 9A, and 55 Newbury Street, map 48, lot 9, pursuant to section 30.5 and table 1, table of allowable uses, quote, motor vehicle repair / service / filling station, end quote, and section 4 of the zoning bylaw. Said properties are in the highway corridor zoning district. The applicant is proposing the construction of a new filling gas station and associated site modifications. Okay. Is there an applicant here to present?
Yes.
If you could come to the podium and introduce yourself, and
Hello,
the table is yours.
thank you. For the record, Steve Glowacki with R.J. O'Connell and Associates. We are the civil engineers on the project. With me tonight is John Harder from Atlantic Traffic as well, who will do a portion of the presentation. So as noted, we come before you representing Costco for a special permit and site plan review for a fuel-related project. The project goals that Costco has been working toward, they're in the process of a nationwide effort to upgrade their warehouses to continue to add convenience and savings for their Costco members. In the case of Danvers, while the existing facility was expanded, you may recall in the past several years, the fuel facility, the ability to acquire the former TGI Fridays parcel at the north corner of the site offers the possibility to enhance the customer experience. This design that we're proposing will separate the gas operations from the main facility to the south and the main entry to the south, and that'll include vehicular traffic and fuel deliveries for the fuel station as well. It'll also provide additional parking at the front entry for the Costco, which is, if some of you patronize the store, you know it's sorely needed at that front area. We don't anticipate any new material traffic impacts or parking demands, but we do anticipate an enhanced members' experience to have these services expanded at this facility. I'd like to touch a minute on the existing site. The existing project site itself is combined acreage of 16.5 acres, but the project area itself is limited to about 3.5 acres. The site, as you know, is bounded by commercial lots in the south in Peabody, Newberry Street and Route 1, and commercial lots to the west, and Interstate Route 95 to the east, and a residence inn by Marriott to the north, you may be familiar with as well. The project currently, as it's presented today, is bisected by the hardcover restaurant, which is not part of this application. So you can see that white area in the middle of the Costco project itself. The property is accessed currently by south entrance off of Newberry Street, and that serves both the fuel uses and the store access itself in that main entry. So it's rather congested around there, and if you've been to the fuel facility, you know it's a very active corner, and we hope to alleviate that as well. The portion of the project with the existing gas stations approximately an acre and a half, and operates currently 9 fueling pumps with 18 fueling stations under a canopy. Additional parking is included next to that, but I'll talk about how we're going to improve that as we move forward with this. There's a total of 652 parking spaces on site, with a majority, about 400 in the front and some in the back as well. The former TGI Fridays has been closed since January of this year, and the project, of course, includes improvements on that portion of the project. Could you please
Yes.
change slides? There we go. The proposal includes the construction of a new fuel facility on the former TGI Fridays, as I mentioned. The proposed site improvements consist of the demolition of the existing fuel facility as it stands there today, and it will be replaced with a new parking area, as I mentioned. The new parking area will yield approximately 120 parking spaces in that area. We anticipate improved traffic flow, in which Mr. Harder will touch upon later. Could you advance the slide, please? This is an elevation of the fuel facility. The new fuel facility will consist of a canopy 136 by 118 feet, constructed over 16 pumps and 32 dispensers. And I can get into the circulation in a short bit about why we have so many pumps. There's also a small kiosk building there and a bathroom for an attendant, and finally a small building that houses what they call a clerk in the loop. Massachusetts Fire Code requires that there's someone on site all the time to initiate the sales for self-serve gasoline. It's important to note that there's no other services offered at the fuel station. There's no sale of any goods. It's a credit card only. There's no cash, and everything's set up to expedite patrons moving through that fuel facility. One of the ways they do that is the hoses that are constructed are extra long, and they're meant to serve either side of the vehicle. So when vehicles queue up, it doesn't matter what side you're on. You can easily access the fuel with on either side of the vehicle. Could you move to the next slide? So in the slide here, with north being facing to the right, vehicles will enter the site at the lower corner, the lower right corner, flowing to the queuing area. And the reason I mentioned that we're going to have 4 fuel pumps per row is meant to expedite sales of the fuel. What Costco has found is, instead of having a longer queue where cars are sitting and doing nothing, it makes more sense for a car to be fueling. And the way they can expedite that is by having more fueling stations which are spaced apart appropriately, and there's an inclusion of a bypass lane for each row. Vehicles are able to come in. If they note someone who's left in front of another car that's fueling up, they can go around, pull in, and easily fuel their vehicles. What Costco intends to add on their canopies as well is a light system that would inform people in the queue that there's a free lane in front of them, a free pump in front of them. And again, it's meant to expedite sales and move patrons through there. The fuel itself, for the fuel drop itself, will happen at the top of the sheet, or in this case, the west side. Fuel trucks will come in off of Newberry through that entrance and pull into the top queue where they'll fuel drop and then come around. So the fuel maneuver is totally independent of the fuel filling operation for vehicles. We think that's a vast improvement as well over what exists today. Could you advance the slide? Thank you very much. This is an enlargement of the lot. Again, this is the existing fuel area, which will be converted to parking. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of parking, and it's adjacent to the main access. So it's important to note, again, John will expand upon this, but the fuel maneuvers will now take place on the former TGI Friday drive for the most part. Patrons will still have the ability to come from the warehouse main entry as well, but we think that split of that traffic serving Costco will improve things quite a bit. Could you move on to the next slide? I'll touch very briefly on the grading and drainage because, to be quite frankly, I could bore you to tears with that, but if you have questions, certainly ask. There are drainage improvements proposed for this, of course, and the intent of this is to improve water quality in this area, as well as mitigate flows of stormwater off the site. So that's what we've done with this design. And if you could jump to the next slide, please. And the same, of course, can be said of this lot as well. We're going to revamp some of the stormwater and enhance water quality beyond what's there today. And that's the goal, meeting the local regulations as well as the state regulations. Can you advance to the next slide, please? A comprehensive landscaping plan has been designed to help enhance the visual appeal of the new fuel station and proposed parking area. The design includes a mix of shade trees, including maples, honey locust, and oak. It will also include evergreens in the form of arborvitaes, shrubs, specifically bayberry and sumac, and perennials and ground cover, including feather reed grass, daylily, and Russian sage. And that was my best attempt at being a landscape architect. Hope I passed. Could you advance to the next slide? And that's the landscaping as represented in the set for the parking area, the new parking area as well. And finally, before I introduce John, could you go to the next slide? The next two slides, this and the slide after that, represent the lighting photometrics. And again, the lighting will be designed to meet the regulations of the town. These photometrics plans will illustrate that. The lighting design includes LED pole-mounted dark sky compliant fixtures, as well as some under canopy lighting to obviously sufficiently light the operation. And with that, as I noted, I'd like to turn things over for traffic and circulation to John Harder, again from Atlantic Traffic. Thank you very much.
That's good. Thank you.
Good, thanks. Back to the original plan. Good evening. So I'm John Harter, Harter, principal with Atlantic Traffic. 30 years of experience. I'm licensed in this state and about 10 others, working on Costco projects with Steve in Massachusetts and about 10 states right now. As Steve indicated, a large program to expand fuel, add fuel to sites, increase parking, improve traffic. So Costco is really committed to improving traffic safety, which is great to be their traffic engineer. In this case, for Danvers, we did a trip generation memorandum that was submitted to the town. It was dated August 15, and that was also sent to MassDOT District 4. And just last week, they did email me back on Friday indicating that we would not need any state highway access permit. So basically, they agree with our findings in our memo that I'll go through right now. Steve hit on, I'll just reiterate some of the items he indicated. The standard really for a Costco site now, if they're building a new warehouse and fuel, typically it's 24 fueling positions, so you'd have 12 pumps. In this case, Costco in a few areas that are very busy, like Florida, they are doing 16 dispensers like this and 32 fueling positions. The Northeast tends to not be as busy, the sites for Costco, but in cases where there's land available and such as Danvers, it's great when they can propose such a large facility. So we're going from 18 fueling positions. I like to stick to the fueling positions rather than the numbers of dispensers. 18 to 32, which is a 78% increase in efficiency from a fueling perspective. But Steve also mentioned that there are other benefits with the lighting system from green and red lights to indicate when you can proceed forward and get into a space, so that adds to the efficiency. And also, now that we're going to deep, 4 deep or 3 or 4 deep, it's important to have greater spacing. So Costco standard, if you go back years ago, it was probably about 22 and a half, 23 feet in the direction of driving through the fuel facility. Now it's 28 feet, and that ensures that you can pull forward into a space. It's not like a traditional fuel station where you're coming in from different directions, you're backing up. So much more efficient in that sense too. The current facility can accommodate about 52 vehicles at the fueling positions and the storage area before it backs out. And now we can we're estimating about 64 vehicles plus that 78% increase in fueling capacity. So it would be a very unusual condition to see the queuing out of the facility. I mean, maybe on a holiday period or some, in a unique case like that. The other benefit that we talk about in the memorandum is that today, really the southern access on Newberry Street is where we didn't do specific traffic counts in the field, but from my field visits and just knowing how the site's laid out, the vast majority of traffic uses the southern access. And because the fuel is located adjacent to the southwest corner of the warehouse, not ideal. You've got pedestrian activity there and just a lot of interest in parking and getting fuel. We also do see the fuel can back out. So all those problems are not good in the vicinity of the building. With Steve's plan, by moving the fuel to the northwest corner of the property, we get away from that area. We add much needed parking. And now we expect a better distribution of traffic more evenly between the two driveways on Newberry Street. So all really, really great improvement. And then as our study or memo talks about the trip generation, now that TGIF is gone, we used ITE trip generation calculation standard for a high turnover sit-down restaurant and demonstrated to DOT that the Costco is really comparable to that use in terms of new trips. So the Costco fuel facilities are very busy on site, but what we've found from studying 7 sites by doing interviews of fuel patrons at Costco sites, and that includes, we did do Danvers in 2021, Dedham, West Springfield in Massachusetts, and other locations. we found during the peak hours, like Saturday, for example, about 55% of people using the fuel facility were also an internal capture trip. They were also going to the warehouse. So as you get more capacity, I think what we're going to see is the warehouse trips are going to now have an interest in getting fuel because it's not as busy. So the new trip component is quite low, and in the end, we found about 15 additional new trips when you compare it in a peak hour to the former TGIF, if you take that credit for that former use. So a very really a great project. It's nice to have as much land as Costco does in this case, and being able to acquire this out parcel, because that's not always is the case in many sites. So I can answer any questions.
Okay, interesting.
So I also wanted to note, we had the benefit of meeting with staff prior to our submission, and we reviewed the project. And we've also had the benefit of a comment letter from the town engineer, Stephen King. We've revised and resubmitted plans, which I believe you have, on September 17th. The comments generally centered around clarifications with some slight modifications of the stormwater design, but again, no material change, so we think we have no issue certainly accommodating Mr. King's comments. And finally, the project's been submitted to the Conservation Commission for a notice of intent. And the project was initially presented on September 12th, and there's a site visit scheduled for tomorrow with the follow-up hearing on the 25th. So I just want to give you a little overview of some additional permitting and the paths that we're going through the town. With that, as John mentioned, questions, we're happy to answer.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I'll turn it over to the board with questions. Why don't we start with Tim?
Sure. You said that this is going to the Conservation Committee. I noticed on this particular picture that we're looking at, can you tell us what we should know about it? It looks like there's a waterfront area that sort of cuts right through the middle of the gas pumping area. Can you say more about what that is?
Yeah, the area that you speak of is actually a drainage swale that extends beyond the edge of the fuel facility. What we've done in response to that, we're actually pulling the pavement further away from specifically further away from the wetland and the resource areas, to better enhance that slope. And part of those conditions would be to enhance that slope and naturalize it more, if you would, against that area. So it appears that it's part of the gas facility. It's actually not. It's off the edge of the property. But again, the primary drive of the design was to pull the pavement from where it sits today further away to accommodate more natural open space and open areas.
Okay. And if you could zoom out a little bit, Josh, if you're the one driving. So these sort of now 4 main parking areas. I am a Costco member. I do shop here. It gets a little crazy in there. Can you walk us through, because you've talked about the number of trips that would come in and how the traffic would flow in, but have you considered sort of what it will look like for patrons who want to go from the store to the gas? It does look like there's sort of a winding about way, we have wayfinding or something, so.
So from the warehouse to the fuel?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know that it would be necessarily very intuitive to sort of drive along this road behind the hardcover, then come back around, then go. It's a little bit of a winding route if you want to do both.
Right. So, yeah, this is an unusual Costco because you don't have a circulation aisle behind the building. So you would only have the aisle to the west of the warehouse to gain access two-way from the front of the warehouse to the fuel entrance. So typically, I mean, if it's the board's wish, I think we could certainly add guide signage. A lot of times our response to that is that they're members only, so they end up becoming very familiar with the site and the new layout over time. But we could, certainly, I'm sure Costco wouldn't object to adding signage.
Yeah, I mean, can you remind me, I think when you pull out, there is a bit of an on-ramp. I would just be worried about people sort of just doing that quick loop around the hardcover because they don't know that they can just go straight from one parking lot to the next.
Oh, are you talking about using the hardcover as access?
You could not use that laser. That is very bright. It's okay. Yeah, I think wayfinding would be helpful because it does look like it would be a little confusing perhaps because your view is blocked of where the gas station is because the hardcover is just sort of awkwardly in the middle there.
Okay.
No, we can see what's happening.
Got
but
one of
it
those too, but
reflects
it's
right in our faces.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's it. No other questions.
Okay.
Thanks.
And again, just picking up on what Tim said, you'd be amenable to including a condition of some additional wayfinding?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay.
Costco is unlike most retailers. They're not big on a lot of signage, actually.
Got it. All right. Jim, questions?
Yeah, just a couple operational questions. I think it's a very comprehensive plan that you provided, and I compliment you on that. As far as the actual pumps themselves, are they going to be emitting, like a lot of the modern ones you see have like a video and noise and promotions, and are they going to have like a TV screen to that effect, or is it going to be?
No, I mean, this is just, none of those are type of amenities are at Costco.
Okay. Pull up, get in, and get the heck out.
Right, there's no
Fill your gas.
kiosk for food or anything of that
Yeah.
nature.
Because a lot of you'll see some, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the adverts, the advertising.
Advertisements and any outdoor audio or noise going to be emanating from the building, speakers.
No, there'll be nothing like that. It's simply the pump itself and very simple, straightforward design.
And is there going to be the trash containers spotted throughout? Can you just demonstrate where those are?
Sure, the receptacles should be shown on the site plan. If you jump back several slides to, I believe it's drawing C3, go the other direction, I think.
And is there a dumpster on site?
There's dumpsters at the warehouse themselves. Typically, what they do is they'll send their attendants or they'll send the staff out there with hoppers to pick up the trash, and then bring those to the dumpster itself. The dumpster's not located right at the gas facility, but in between the pumps, you'll see small circles there. Back to the slide. There you
It
go.
would just seem to me that you might generate a fair amount of trash. As a practical matter, you're going to require people to. Would it make more sense to put a dumpster on that site?
Well, I think the dumpsters are close enough in the rear of the facility. If you go, sorry to make you keep jumping around slides, but
Overall.
if you go up to the overall, so go
Overall, number,
yeah,
like sheet 1 or first sheet or
or
whatever.
two, sheet two may suffice as well.
The-
But you can see the back of house is fairly close to the back, so they'll send an attendant out there with the rolling hopper to pick up the bags, switch them out, and just roll it back over to the dumpster and dump them. So it's a fairly routine practice for them, and it's something it's part of their program.
It just seems like a distance to, especially in the winter. You're talking bad weather. 10-foot snowbanks.
Well, I think what they're trying to avoid is having an additional operation by introducing a trash truck that would come into the area and have to try to navigate and pick up a dumpster in the area. So I think they think it's, I think Costco's general operation is to keep the trash separate. And I honestly don't believe that because they don't serve any other services, that people don't tend to throw their drinks and everything else in the barrel, whereas a convenience store, gas station, you'd see a little bit more of that. But
I think if you have a barrel, people are going to use it.
Fair enough,
And my concern is you have a drainage swale, you've got a highway. If people put something in there and perhaps it isn't maintained as regularly as you might think, things are going to blow away and end up on the highway or in the drainage swale. So I'm just saying, as a practical matter, for the 6 months of winter that we have, and ice and snow, are people going to be pushing a little cart over there to empty, 8 barrels or however many barrels you got? It doesn't seem like I think if you put a smaller, maybe a smaller dumpster, you could maneuver that pretty easily.
Well, I think regardless, you'd have the same issue, because ultimately you'd still have to send someone out to pick up the barrels and clear the barrels and bring them over to a dumpster. So the question is the distance, but again, that's what they build into their maintenance program. In addition, by the way, through the Conservation Commission, we're submitting an operations and maintenance agreement, which requires Costco to go out and maintain those drainage items, which includes catch basins, cleaning of the wetlands, and things like that. So we anticipate that to be part of our typical.
Would you have any type of fencing or anything to prevent stuff from blowing in there?
There's no fencing proposed over there. I'm not sure it would yeah, I'm not sure if that would make sense for them to do it in that location. I'm not sure. But I think it's important to note, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the barrels also have the hood on them. So they're hooded, so they're not wide open with trash blowing out of them, you know. It's designed to avoid that very scenario. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, of course, if it's, you know, but the intent would be to empty those regularly and not have that issue.
And can you just point out the snow storage on the site?
Sure, can you advance down to the site plan? God bless you. Next one, please. Yeah, the snow storage areas are clouded on the side of the island, specifically at the lower portion, that large island. There's voids in between the tree cover that would facilitate snow. And if snow, of course, becomes, if there's too much snow on site, they're gonna remove it. Obviously, they can't have it hinder their operations, so.
So just on that lower corner, really? On that lower area?
That lower edge, yeah. And there's some on the furthest aisle on the south, which would be that, yes, exactly, thank you, that area there, where they would push it. And it's important to note, too, a good portion of this area is covered by the canopy, so, you know, you're gonna have a void under the area, of course, where snow won't accumulate.
Okay, and then parking on that site for employees and so on? Is there parking on that site
There,
for,
it's, on the rear of the building, jump around. There's a large area in the back of approximately 200 spaces that is more than sufficient to handle the employees. And there's a rear access door through there, so they don't have to cut around the front to come into the warehouse.
and how many employees would they have on shift?
That I'm not entirely sure. For this store-
Approximately 75 is what I hear on most applications.
And for the gas station facility, how many
Sorry.
are we talking about on that?
There's at least one attendant, sometimes two, to manage things if it gets too busy, but you'll always have at least one on site, again, to manage the clerk in the loop and initiate the sales and help anyone out who may need help. But when traffic backs up, they'll send another attendant. There's always redundancy built into the trained staff, you know, in the warehouse to make sure that they have someone who can cover that, you know, in the event that things become too busy.
Okay. That's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Mike, do you have any?
Excuse me, my question is, what is the distance, like the length of where the cars are gonna go? What's the existing distance versus like the new proposed distance? Like, does that make sense? So from the
For
north
stacking?
side, yeah.
That's
You know?
what I commented on earlier.
Yeah, I know I think you said it was a 12 additional cars, but do you know what the actual distance is?
I
chance?
have to scale it off the plan.
I just-
So
the
what I typically do is use 22 feet for a car length and space between.
The queue length behind the canopy just looks pretty tight, and like, I'm actually on Google Maps, and the entire gas station every lane has between 5 and 7 cars in the Google Maps queued up, and they're basically going out to where the entrance is, and my only concern is that they're gonna queue onto that main road there. And then-
In the new case.
Yeah, it just looks tight, but it might not be. It might just be the drawing, so I don't know if it is or not. I'm sure you've done the studies to see if it is or not, but
Right, so
that
what I-
area to the right of the canopy, so the north of the canopy to the north edge of where that green strip is.
The stacking area.
Yeah, I'm concerned that they're gonna queue out into that road, and then what would the plan be? They would just queue down the road if there were
Well, I
cars?
think we'd only see that on a very rare occasion.
Okay.
Like a holiday or a storm condition or something unusual, because the 32 fueling positions can process so much of
Yeah.
vehicles. It's about 80% more than you can today, so it's, you're almost doubling the capacity of the facility.
But just of filling stations, not of total cars.
Not for, right, but total cars, I get about 52 today, if you include the 18 filling positions in the storage, and then I'm getting 64, so I am
So it's like an
getting-
extra car and a half per row, basically, because I think there's like eight rows, right? Is that correct? 8 filling rows?
Yes, in the proposed.
So you're having basically a car to 2 cars per lane extra than you currently have,
Correct, but you're processing much faster, close to double.
because there's more gas pumps, you're saying? Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So I think it'd be very unusual for it to back out. I mean, I would have expected Costco would propose 24 fueling positions in a case like this, but because they have the room, we've got that extra capacity.
And so if it did overflow, it would go onto that road and then it would go down that road towards the south entrance there? Would that be that's where cars would line up,
I would
correct?
think if we go back to the main plan, I would expect Costco would actually route traffic to the east in that parking behind the warehouse building. So they would probably have them enter and then circulate through that to Stack and avoid that aisle, the main.
And then have someone there telling people to go across the road?
Because that's what they've been doing, and we're working on some very old sites that have 12 filling positions, and there's queuing problems, and they'll cone things off. They'll direct traffic in ways like that.
Okay,
So they would avoid, the main aisle. Yeah.
okay, thank you. No further questions.
Jean, do you have any questions?
My question was also on the second, but you answered it. Thank you. The hours of operation, is it going to be the same as the existing fueling?
That would be the intent, yes.
Okay. That's it.
I just have a couple of questions. I guess this is more traffic related. I reviewed the traffic, the traffic memorandum. And so with the new location, will it affect, I guess, I think in the memo you referred to, I guess, internal capture. So someone who's going into the, who's going to, who's not just purchasing fuel, but also going into Costco as well. So is that going to be affected at all by this relocation?
Well, yes, I would expect warehouse customers that are going today when it's very busy
Sure.
and they don't want to go into the fuel, they're more apt to now perform a combined trip, fuel and warehouse. So we just don't want the impression that you add add larger fuel and it's just bringing all this new traffic. It tends to just feed off the warehouse customers that are there.
Okay.
So.
And in terms of the, in terms of the additional wayfinding, I think that's just something, it could be helpful because, it's off of, it's on Route 1. You could potentially have people who are Costco members, maybe from out of the area, who are driving through. And so I think having something like that might be, could be helpful to those who otherwise could get, kind of turned around.
Yes,
So-
okay, good idea.
Yeah, and in terms of the, in terms of any of the abutters, have you heard any concerns been raised with respect from either the hardcover or the Residence Inn, which I guess the Residence Inn is still active, right?
Well, I can say one thing about hardcover. The
Yeah.
DOT asked about hardcover.
Yes.
And their hours actually work very well with the fuel because they open 4:30, really every day of the week in the area. So we're really, tend to peak midday, afternoon
Sure.
on weekends. And also, from my research, Costco tends to not peak in the commuter evening hour, 4 to 6. It's really more 2 to 4 is when they're busiest. So it works pretty well in terms of the hours with the hardcover.
Okay.
In terms of the hotel property,
No, we haven't heard anything from the hotel. As you know, they were going through their own permitting
Right.
on that side as well, but there's been no interaction or reach out, certainly to us, so that I'm aware of the team at all. And if there were, we'd certainly have conversations with them, but there's been nothing to date, as I understand it.
right? I was asked by Costco I attended their zoning board hearing because they went to, for an application to go to a residential project. And the last we heard, they hadn't been moving forward.
Okay. Got it. Okay. And I guess in terms of the, just looking in terms of what you all have received engineering comments as well. I think the most recent memo we have was from September 24th.
Yeah, I might not have had an opportunity to send it to them, but we got a memo from them late in this afternoon, so, yep.
Okay. So you'd be willing to comply with any engineering recommendations?
Yes, we reviewed the comments from Mr. King and responded to those, essentially everything in the affirmative, and it was certainly, we're happy to work with Mr. King
Okay.
on any additional comments he may have.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't have any further questions myself. This is a public hearing, so if any members of the public would like to speak, you could raise your hand and I'll recognize you. And please make sure to present any questions through the chair.
Nova Yosemite Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. So Costco has a sustainability commitment, so I was wondering if there's any consideration for putting solar panels on the canopy.
Okay. Okay. The applicant, can you address that, that question?
I can. Typically, that's not part of their program. I don't believe there's been any discussion about that. I can certainly mention it to the project managers of this project and see if that's something they're amenable to. But typically, that's not a program that they work with in this type of facility.
So that's not something that's been, that Costco has done in other locations?
They perhaps have, but I'm unaware of it, certainly for the Massachusetts projects.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nobody have it?
I just brought it up only because they do on their website have a sustainability commitment. So, and is there any EV charging, or do they just do fuel at these?
Okay. Thank you. Could you address that question about EV charging, which that seems...
Right. It's not a standard of Costco to propose EV charging. Certainly, there are jurisdictions that have asked them to install EV, and they have, but they don't on their own.
Okay, got it. So there are no currently EV charging on site currently?
That's my understanding. None. Right, Steve? That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the public? Mr. Bradstreet?
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. Nova made a good question. Maybe now's the time to ask them to consider or perhaps put in progress about solar panels, not leave it to the future, because we don't know how long the future is going to take. As far as signs on the property, I know too many signs can be confusing, but I certainly would appreciate enough signs so that it's a very busy piece of property. I know in the afternoon, sometimes the pumps get busy for the people rushing to get home who want gas, get stuck in the long queues and what have you. Again, I don't know how many is enough or how many is too many, but I certainly would like to see as many signs that someone determines is necessary for that. Nothing against the proponents, but certainly the town has an interest in, we don't want to have emergency personnel have to respond because someone has gone the wrong way or into someone. We don't need that kind of aggravation. That's why I mentioned the signs, but I think Nova made a nice suggestion about the solar panels. We're putting them on the schools in town. They don't have a gas problem. This place does, so it'd be a nice, and they have plenty of roof space, if that's...
Let me go. So, Mr. Bradstreet, first of all, just with respect to the signage question in terms of wayfinding, you all would be, the applicant would be willing to, I think we can include a condition to work with town staff to have appropriate wayfinding signs on the site?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so, and also in terms of the question that was raised, is coming back to the environmental question with respect to solar panels on the roof. Is that something that the applicant would be willing to investigate or to, I'm not sure if that's something in terms of Josh, in terms of staff, if we've been, in terms of other stations, fuel stations used, installed solar panels in town?
And you're saying in Danvers, or you're saying?
Or just in the area?
Northeast. I am not aware of any. I guess, I'm not sure if this could be answered tonight, or, it's like, I'm not even sure if the canopy would, from a structural standpoint, right, if they're even built with the ability to even add solar. So that would be an interest, that would.
Yeah, could the applicant address that question? Just.
Yeah,
just about this, about the concern that's raised about that
Right,
large.
I understand about the canopies over the pumps. It's a very large building. There's a lot of area on top of the building that could accommodate them also.
Oh, I misunderstood. So you're speaking of the main warehouse roof as well?
That's as well. That's a larger area than the canopies over the pumps.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Costco does for solar in different areas. In Massachusetts, I'm unfamiliar if they used it. It's, in Massachusetts, solar is not the most, reliable thing, because you would also it would also require a battery in this particular case to make it work, whereas a home system can run
Sure.
sometimes with and again, home systems have batteries as well, but I don't know, to be quite honest, I don't know if Costco has explored that in Massachusetts at all that I'm aware of, in the other warehouses. And I've worked on several, certainly through the years. I could certainly ask the project management team about that, and will.
Okay.
The only other thing, Costco is supplying fuel or selling fuel to cars. As we see us progressing in this country, we're trying to go to electric vehicles. I think it would behoove them to either look in or install some to get started. I can't picture it. They're going to put some up to the Danvers Plaza, or they already have in different areas. I think this would be a nice offering to the town if they were to do that. They would probably also make some money doing it, so that should be an enticement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes, Jerry McKinn.
Thank you. I'm Nancy McCann, and I do represent the Residence Inn applicant. And I think Mr. DeCoulis raised a very good issue with regard to queuing out onto that access road. The access, should the cars queue out of the area that's shown as the fuel dispenser area and onto that access road, there will be no access into the hotel. So I think I would request that the board have a condition that there will be no queuing out onto that access road permitted. I think the applicant indicated that they monitor and put cones out or whatever and have folks circle around their back parking lot, whatever they have to do. But I would request on behalf of Residents Inn that there not be queuing out on that access road, because that will prevent access into the hotel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it, thank you. Just turning back to the applicant, would you be amenable to a condition to avoid queuing to the Residence Inn access road?
I don't think that's so simple. I think what we could commit to is having a contingency plan on how the queuing would be handled in a rare condition that it backs out of the stacking area. So like as I described earlier, routing it through the parking area north of the warehouse building, because we really, I don't know how we could commit to saying it would never queue out. So I think that's what I've experienced in other Costco applications, where we've created a drawing that would show how that operation would happen in that rare case.
So you'd be willing then to commit to a contingency plan to avoid the queuing? To avoid
Correct.
queuing?
So that, all of us, Costco and also for the Residents Inn, we don't want to block the main circulation aisle there.
Okay. Jim, were you going to say something?
No, I was just say perhaps the applicant and Residents Inn could discuss it, agree to a condition to discuss it, to come up with the best alternative and coordinate with town staff.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, good. Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so we have then, so then it would be the applicant would be agreed to, as a condition to at least to discuss with the applicant would discuss with the Residents Inn property to, in coordination with town staff to avoid a queuing problem with the Residents Inn property.
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay. Okay. Any other comments or questions from members of the public? Okay. I'm going to turn back things to the board. Any further follow-up questions or, Mike?
Nope, no questions, thank you.
Jean?
No.
Jim?
Nope.
Tim? Just this question I was going to ask in terms of what the sort of the will of the board is with respect to the concern that was arised with respect to environmental issues and in terms of the looking into either some sort of solar or electric charging stations. Wasn't sure what your all thoughts were with respect to that.
Well, I think it's admirable. I think it's a little ironic that you're asking a fossil fuel company to add solar, which I'm not trying to make a joke of it, but it's a little ironic. It might be a good thing for them to add some EV stations next to the store, which people would park and then go into the store, which makes sense, but not at the site of a filling station, which again is get in, get out. But I'm not sure that this board can require an applicant. I don't think there's anything in our purview to not necessarily force or require an applicant to expend, which could be a great deal of money to add this alternative fuel source. And as the applicants, one of their spokespersons said, it's extremely, it's not as reliable, at least in this part of the country, as it might be. I know we do have the largest, one of the largest solar displays over the indoor sports, which was a kind of a first one of its kind that came in. That place has probably been there 15 years, which is a good use and an understandable use, but extremely expensive. But I'm not sure this board, even while it's admirable to consider that, can require that to applicants. Okay. Until and unless the board either adopts some policy, which goes through Josh and company, when people apply to say, hey, did you consider maybe alternative energy, in your building? Maybe that's the starting point, but I'm not sure we can require someone to do that. We can suggest, but,
Could I actually ask a clarifying question on that? Because as a electric vehicle owner and someone with solar panels on their house, I do love both ideas. It does seem like we don't necessarily have too much leeway to ask for those types of changes, but is it correct, Josh, that for a parking lot with over 75 spaces, at least 2 spaces need to be for electric vehicles in the bylaw?
I don't believe that's in the zoning bylaw unless you're reading something that I'm not aware of.
I am reading the zoning bylaw, but let me try to.
Yeah, what part are you?
But I was asking ChatGPT to summarize it for me, so I want to make sure that's correct. Special parking types and standards, this is on page 84. In each parking lot or structure containing over 75 parking spaces, at least 2 spaces within the 10 spaces closest.
Is that referring to section 18, the downtown stuff?
Oh, is that downtown only?
Downtown.
That's why.
That's why you got to check ChatGPT's work. I do think, I think to answer your question directly, Lou, I do think it would be smart for us to think about updates to the zoning bylaws to reflect more of those changes and requirements, but it doesn't seem like we have much leeway here.
I think that makes sense, and I appreciate your all thoughts. I think that that's something we should certainly, appreciate the applicant at least to think about it, but I think but in terms of an our end, I think we probably want to, I know we have a, upcoming potentially land use summit coming up. I think that's something as we look at making revisions to our zoning bylaws, it's probably something that we want to take a good look at in terms of consideration of alternative fuels and alternative energy sources. So.
I agree.
Okay, very good. No further questions or comments from myself. So I will, we have two matters. We have a special permit, and then we have a site plan review. And so, Josh, we need to close public hearings on both of them individually?
That's right.
Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the special permit.
So moved.
Okay. There's been a motion for close the public hearing on the grant of special permit for 1149 and 55 Newbury Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, so now we'll have the motion itself on the grant of the special permit for 1149 and 55 Newbury Street. Jean, can you read the motion?
Yep. Grant of special permit for 1149 and 55 Newbury Street. Date of application, August 21st, 2024. Date of hearings, September 24th, 2024. Date of decision, September 24th, 2024. This is to certify that at a meeting of the Danvers Planning Board held on September 24th, 2024, having been requested under Section 30.5 and Table 1, Table of Allowable Uses of the zoning bylaw for property located at 11 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 55, Lot 4, 49 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 48, Lot 9A, and 55 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 48, Lot 9, as voted to approve the request submitted by Costco Wholesale Corporation for a special permit to allow motor vehicle service / repair / filling gas station, as shown on the following plans. Gasoline facility and parking lot expansion, 11 and 49 through 55 Newbury Street, Danvers, Mass. Prepared by R.J. O'Connell Associates Incorporated, dated May 3rd, 2024, revised to September 17th, 2024, consisting of 25 sheets. Supporting materials include stormwater report prepared by R.J. O'Connell Associates Incorporated, dated August 15th, 2024, and a trip generation memo prepared by Atlantic Traffic and Design, LLC, dated August 15th, 2024. The Planning Board grants a special permit pursuant to Section 30.5 of the zoning bylaw, required findings for issuance of special permits, and finds all of the following criteria have been satisfied. 1, social, economic, or community needs which are served by the proposal. 2, traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. 3, adequacy of utilities and other public services. 4, compatibility with size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. 5, impacts on the natural environment. And 6, potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment. Conditions of approval. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to issuance of a building permit, this special permit decision shall be recorded at the Southern Essex Registry of Deeds. 2, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated September 24th, 2024.
Well, I think we're going to add this is where we would also add the other conditions with respect to wayfinding
Yeah,
signs.
so,
Okay.
not to cut you off, I guess I could read what I think we discussed.
That'd be great.
Additional wayfinding signage to the gas station facility shall be installed. Final number and location of wayfinding signage to be reviewed and approved by planning staff. And then the other additional condition was the applicant will work with the abutter at, and I would have to check the address.
The abutter, the
Yeah, the abutter,
Residence in
I would write the
IE
address
residence.
if it's something, Cranebrook, yeah, something Cranebrook Drive. In coordination with town staff to avoid queuing from the gas facility onto the main access drive. Does that sound appropriate or accurate? The applicant will work with the abutter at 98 Cranebrook Drive in coordination with town staff to ensure that queuing from the gas facility does not occur.
I believe it's to avoid queuing into the Residence Inn access
Oh.
road.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was the concern. Sorry. To avoid queuing into the driveway there, the driveway, like the.
Queuing, to avoid queuing that would block access to residents.
Applicant, is that That's okay, okay. Okay, so those are those two conditions.
Sure.
Okay, Jean, the last.
So 5, if there are any changes to the approved plans, the use or the conditions on premise, planning staff will review. If deemed a major change by staff, the applicant will have to apply for a modification to application to the special permit. Any approval of this special permit shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date.
Very good, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Tim. Very good, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, the special permit passes. So let's move on to the next item, which is the site plan. So we need to, first of all, like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the site plan review for 1149 and 55 Newbury Street.
So moved.
It's been first by Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, let's turn now to the site plan review decision for 1149 and 55 Newbury Street. So I leave this to Jean.
Okay, date of application, August 15th, 2024. Date of hearing, September 24th, 2024. Date of decision, September 24th, 2024. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by Costco Wholesale Corporation for property at 11 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 55, Lot 4, 49 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 48, Lot 9A, and 55 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 48, Lot 9, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plans. Gasoline facility and parking lot expansion, 11 and 49 through 55 Newbury Street, Danvers, Mass., prepared by R.J. O'Connell Associates, Incorporated, dated May 3rd, 2024, revised to September 17th, 2024, consisting of 25 sheets. Supporting materials include stormwater report prepared by R.J. O'Connell Associates, Incorporated, dated August 15th, 2024, and a trip generation memo prepared by Atlantic Traffic and Design, LLC, dated August 15th, 2024. The following submission requirements have been waived. 1. Section 4.3.1 title sheet. The land use of each lot is not shown on the title sheet. Lot lines for the properties and existing contours at 1 foot intervals are shown on the existing condition plan. Exhibit 2A and Exhibit 2B. 2. Section 4.3.2, Site Analysis Plan. The Site Analysis Plan is entitled the Existing Conditions Plan. 3. Section 4.3.3, Dimensional Regulations Plan. The Dimensional Regulations Plan is entitled the Layout and Zoning Plan, Sheet 3. 4. Section 4.3.4, Site Construction Plan. The dimensions of drives, curb cuts, and parking areas are shown on the off-street parking and loading plan, C3A, C3B. A table indicating the amounts of earth material that are to be removed, added, or reused is not shown on the plan. 5. Section 4.3.6, Utilities Plan. No utilities plan submitted. The proposed utilities are shown on the Site Construction Plan, C2A and C2B. 6. Section 4.3.7, Landscape Plan. Proposed grades are shown on the Site Construction Plan, C2A and C2B. Existing vegetative cover and existing trees to be retained and removed is shown on the Demolition and Erosion Control Plan, C1A, C1B. The methods of protecting plant material during construction is shown on the Landscape Details, L6. Wetland buffer boundaries are shown on the Site Construction Plan, C2A and C2B. The yard setbacks and table showing the percentages of existing and proposed impervious surface is shown on the Dimensional Regulations Plan, OS1. 7. Section 4.3.8, Off-Street Parking and Loading Plan. The construction details and type of material is shown on Site Details 1, C4, Site Details 2, C5, and Site Details 3, C6. A parking table is shown on the Dimensional Regulations Plan, OS1. 8. Section 4.3.9, Lighting Plan. The lighting manufacturer specification data is shown on the lighting cut sheet, L5. Conditions of approval. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to issuance of a building permit, this site plan decision shall be recorded at the Southern Essex Registry of Deeds. 2, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated September 24th, 2024. 3, if there are any changes.
We have that other,
Yeah, we can.
the other conditions.
Yeah, we can include the other two
other
that
two.
we said earlier. I don't
Can you
know.
read those back? Thanks.
Additional wayfinding signage to the gas station facility shall be installed. Final number and location of wayfinding signage to be reviewed and approved by planning staff. Now, help me out with this one. The applicant will work with the abutter at 48 Cranebrook Drive in coordination with planning staff to avoid queuing from the gas station facility that would block access to 48 Cranebrook Drive. Does that sound good, everyone? Yeah. Okay. Third time's a charm.
5, if there are any changes to the approved plans, the use or the conditions on premises, planning staff will review. If deemed a major change by staff, the applicant will have to apply for a new application for site plan review. This project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Any approval of this site plan review shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date.
Okay, very good. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Tim. Very good. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, site plan's been approved. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item. We have a public hearing, 55 and 50, public hearings rather, 55 and 63 Maple Street, 10 School Street, and 6 Pillsbury Avenue. Request for special permits, waivers, and site plan review submitted by JVJ Solutions Group, LLC, for properties at 55 Maple Street, map 43, lot 179, 63 Maple Street, map 43, lot 178, 10 School Street, map 42, lot 182, and 6 Pillsbury Avenue, map 43, lot 176, pursuant to section 18.4B, density bonus requirements. Waiver from table 18.1, section 18.5.D.5A, parking reduction methods, on-street parking offset. Waiver from section 18.5.D.8, bicycle parking, and section 4 of the zoning bylaw. Said properties are in the Danvers Town Center Core DTCC zoning district. The applicant is proposing a redevelopment of the properties with a mixed-use building at 55 and 63 Maple Street with first-floor commercial space and 22 residential units on the upper floors, and a multifamily building at 10 School Street with 8 residential units and associated site modifications. So is the applicant ready to present?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of the owner and the applicant, North Street Development LLC and JVJ Solutions LLC. With me tonight is John Hernandez, manager of both of those LLCs, as well as Jay Polakowitz, the project engineer, Sid Silveira, the project architect, and James Emanuel, the landscape architect for the project. And the properties that you've listed, 55 to 63 Maple Street, 10 School Street, and 6 Pillsbury Street Avenue, I should say, are in the DTC Core zoning district under the Danvers zoning bylaw. The board will recall we were here not too long ago, in the spring of this year, when we requested and received a density special permit and waiver, as well as site plan approval for the properties at 63 Maple, 10 School, and 6 Pillsbury. That project included a total of 24 units, 16 in the Maple Street 63 property, 63 Maple Street property, and 8 in the 10 School Street property, as well as commercial on the first floor. That project design was well received architecturally and layout-wise, and we received favorable comments. However, the board may recall that we had some spirited discussion with the owner of 55 Maple Street at that time, which is Cakes for Occasions, wondering why that property wasn't included, and also being concerned and raising concerns with regard to construction at 63 Maple and how 55 Maple could be protected. And during the course of construction, and there was some general concern about the look of the new building up against a single story at 55 Maple. So since that time, the applicant met with the owner, then owner of 55 Maple Street, and entered into an agreement to purchase that property, the Cakes for Occasions building. The closing, in fact, occurred in June. So the applicant now does own the entire development site. The plans that were previously approved have been modified to include the 55 Maple Street parcel. The changes that we're presenting tonight relate to that 5563 Maple section. There, we really did not make any changes to the remainder of the site from what you saw previously. So, again, we have designed a project. If you could go, Josh, to sheet C4, just to have that up for us while I'm discussing the project. We've basically simply extended the new mixed-use building along Maple Street to include that corner piece. So we're essentially finishing the corner, if you will, to make a cohesive development. So by adding 55 Maple, we were able to increase the first floor commercial space and also add 6 new residential units, 3 units on each floor. So the building will consist of first floor commercial, second floor residential, and third floor residential, just like the prior proposal. And there is an additional 3 units on the second floor and 3 units on the third floor. So the proposal consists of removing the existing commercial building at 55 Maple Street, formerly Cakes for Occasions, removing the building at 63 Maple Street, known as Danvers Hardware. Both of those are currently vacant storefronts along Maple Street, and constructing in place of those 2 buildings, a new mixed-use building, again, that'll have commercial on the first floor and residential on the second and third floor. The mixed-use building is a use and a building style that is permitted in the DTC core zoning district. The next part of the proposal is to rehab the 10 School Street building. That's an 1890s building that will be rehabbed into 8 residential units. There's currently 2 residential units there now, as well as some commercial space. So it's a net new of 6 units in that building. So that will be a multifamily building, so it will just be residential. No particular exterior changes, a few facade changes, but basically it will be interior renovations and a rehab of that historic building. No change to the plan for 10 School Street that you had seen previously. The other elements are removing the first floor commercial building, first 1-story commercial building that exists along School Street now, removing the old storage and garages that are located at 6 Pillsbury Ave, and replacing those that garage space and storage space that's there now with the open amenity space in the form of a pocket park. Those were elements that you've seen previously. So again, the change is to the Maple Street frontage by adding in the 55 Maple Street project parcel into the project. We're requesting a special permit and density waiver for a total of 30 units. And we are also requesting a special permit to allow 4 of the existing parking spaces that are located along the Maple Street frontage, having those count. They're not reserved, but having them count as permitted under the zoning bylaw toward the commercial parking requirements for this project. As with the original project, we worked and have worked with the planning staff both procedurally as to how to bring this forward to you, as well as with the design to incorporate the comments that we received from the engineering department, as well as from the board, as well as from the public during that initial hearing on the original project, and to come up with a project that now will finish the block and enliven the Danvers Square area with needed housing, active commercial uses along Maple Street, and remove some old and dilapidated buildings, as well as restore an existing historic building. All of the dimensional requirements of the DTC core have been met by this proposal. And notably, the DTC core does permit 4 stories and 45 feet in height by right. This building is 3 stories and approximately 35 feet in height. The total development area is about 36,595 square feet. Again, we are requesting the density waiver for a net new of 28 units, 8 being in the restored 10 School Street, and the others in 22 in the new mixed-use building. For the mixed-use building, we will have retail on the first floor of about 7,542 square feet of commercial retail space. We are, again, anticipating a hardware store component in that space. The second and the third floor of that building will each contain 7 one-bedroom units, 3 two-bedroom units, and 1 studio. So we've introduced a new component, adding into the variety of the residential units by having studio units. We did not have studios previously. So that adds in another diverse element for housing, which is encouraged under the zoning bylaw. The parking requirement for residential spaces is 37 parking spaces, and we have 37 parking spaces on site. We are also grandfathered for this site with 10 commercial spaces. We are providing 6 of those on site and 4 of those along the Maple Street frontage. We have the open amenities space in the form of the pocket park, which is familiar to you from the prior application, as well as a common yard, and that's the term used under the zoning bylaw for this particular type of open amenity space. We have a common yard component and garden, which we didn't have previously, and that is located at the rear of the 5563 mixed-use building that creates a residential access, a new residential entry point, if you will, to the residential component of that building. And we'll go into a bit more detail that as we go through the plan. So what I'd like to do is have our project engineer walk you through the plans first, and then we'll have Sid, our project architect, go through the architectural plans. We have submitted some very detailed renderings and 3D renderings as well. And James Emmanuel will wrap it up with the landscape plan, and then I'll hit some of the more boring aspects after that. So thank you very much.
Sounds good. Can you just identify yourself for the record?
Yep. Good evening, Jay Plackerts with Hancock Associates. Josh, do you mind going to sheet C2?
Yes.
So just as a quick recap, this is the existing conditions out on this project site. There are 5 buildings. There's the hardware store. Then there's another red cinder block building on that site that's part of 63 Maple. 10 School Street, as well as some garages along Pillsbury Ave. And what is now being added to the site is 55 Maple Street, also known as Cakes for Occasions. So 4 of these buildings are to be removed. The only one to remain will be 10 School Street. Do you mind going to C5, I believe it is? So this is the proposed condition. On the corner of Maple Street and School Street will be the new mixed-use building. 10 School Street is to remain and hasn't changed from our original filing. The pocket park in back, again, hasn't changed. 63 Maple Street, or the hardware building, has added on square footage to the building itself where 55 Maple was. We've also added some parking and pedestrian access way, as well as some landscaped areas. Can we go to the next sheet now? So new utility services are proposed for both buildings. The drainage system has not changed much from what was originally proposed. It's still a subsurface chamber system that collects roof runoff and stormwater runoff. The system has been upsized for the additional impervious area. So we did receive some comments from the planning staff. I apologize, Josh, do you mind going back to the previous sheet? One of those was about parking lot circulation. So at the last meeting, we had agreed upon two-way traffic. However, planning staff has told us that they'd prefer to see one-way traffic. We've revised our signage and arrows to accommodate the one-way traffic. That's 24-foot aisles, 90-degree spaces that are 9 by 18, so that meets the code for parking dimensions. We've also added a bike rack along Maple Street. I show it in a potential location, but we're willing to work with planning staff on the final location for that one. The engineering department has noted that we'll now need a pad-mounted transformer. Again, I'm showing it in a general location, and we will work with the electric department on final location, bollard layout, and setbacks. We also received some additional comments from the engineering department, most of which were addressed. Some of them were just some utility, sewer, and water coordination that we'll handle with them during the water and sewer permitting process. So that's about all I have, and I'll hand it off to Sid.
Hi, good evening. Sid Silvera, DMS Design with the architects for the project.
Thank you.
So one of the comments we received on our prior submission was the desire to add windows on that left side abutting the parking lot. The prior scheme, we didn't have the room based on the unit layouts and unit square footages to pull that facade back from the setback from the property lines to get windows in. Now that we have the extra square footage obtained by Cakes for Occasion, we were able to slide the top floors over to get some setback relief and get some windows on the end units.
That's on both sides?
Yes, the other side had windows all along, the Maples, the School Street side. But we weren't able to obtain that originally on the prior scheme on the parking lot side. We have the same materials, same height, same articulation, kind of pushing and pulling the facades that we had prior. The main way we achieved what we have now is that central section just became wider. We kind of just stretched the building, and proportionally, everything kind of stayed the same. Now that we know that the whole ground floor is going to be retail, one of the things we did add, which is a little tough to see in that slide, is we have a corner window storefront on the School Street side. It's a prominent corner of the building as you're coming up. I guess it would be north on Maple Street. It's a little extra thing that we didn't have originally as well. The one thing to point out too is the new portion of the building, if you will, that takes over where Cakes for Occasion was, or currently still is. It's a little smaller, so we're not taking up as much area as the original building is from on the School Street facade. Next slide. There's just some precedent photos of abutting in neighboring buildings that were same as from our prior submission. Next slide.
I think that's the last one. I
That's
think
it.
I'm not sure if you want to talk about any of these.
That's it. All Oh, here we go, some floor plans. I mean, Nancy touched upon that. It's just, 7 one-bedrooms, 2 twos, and 1 studio per floor. And I'll pass it off to James.
Yep.
Good evening.
Thanks for
Good
the
evening. James Emanuel, the landscape architect on the project. I believe the landscape plans are in the tail end of the civil set.
That's right.
There we go. So as you can see with the landscape plan, everything kind of to the right of the plan sheet is the same as what you had seen previously. We've got the pocket park in that leg that's currently occupied by the garage building structure, the access paths, the landscape trees and shrubs throughout the area, additional outdoor spaces, and plantings along the perimeters where we had them before. What we're really adding with this project, with the addition of the project along Maple Street, is a new landscaped area behind that, abutting the parking lot, where we have space now for 4 additional trees. So I think that adds a little bit of extra shade element to the parking and to the and scale to the space as well. And there's a number of shrubs and locations that we have in that vicinity to allow for, I think, enhanced access, especially to the residential component to that development as well, too. So if you might remember before, it was all parking on a separate parcel back there. Now we've got the space to kind of flesh this out and really introduce the trees and the shrubs and the extra landscaping to, I think, kind of tie the whole thing together. So if you go to you can maybe just go to the last page, and you may recall some of these precedent images of, pocket parks, and this is kind of the character that we talked about for the pocket parks, and some of the tree types and varieties and what you might be getting and looking at for those as well too, with canopy and different color and seasonal components to them as well. So we're adding more of that to the project with what we're proposing here, and I think that's what we have for landscape. I can turn it back over to Nancy.
Thank you.
So we are requesting a couple of special permits, the same type that we requested previously. And under the bylaw, we need to demonstrate some public realm improvements for those special permits. And we are doing a number of public realm improvements. And again, as we added in the 55 Maple Street parcel, we did meet with planning staff and got some input as to what would be appropriate for the public realm improvements. And the first item is we are adding an additional affordable housing unit above the required number of housing units, affordable housing units required. We have a net new of 28 new housing units. That equates to 3.5 affordable housing units under the bylaw calculation, and we are proposing 5 affordable housing units for this project. And they will be a proportionate mix of types of bedrooms, as well as a proportionate mix within the 2 residential buildings that we have. We will be replacing the existing sidewalk along the Maple Street frontage, 55 Maple and 63 Maple, along that entire frontage. There is a sidewalk now. We will be replacing that with a new sidewalk, as well as wrapping that existing sidewalk around School Street with a new sidewalk, replacing the existing. So the existing sidewalk along Maple Street and School Street frontages will be replaced with a new sidewalk. And we are going to be constructing a new sidewalk and new vertical granite curbing along School Street that does not exist now. Right now, there's you get to the end of Cakes for Occasions and there's no sidewalk. Not a very safe condition now, so we will be constructing a new curbing and new sidewalk along School Street for the entire length all the way down to the end of 10 School Street. We are donating 4 street trees. 2 will be placed along Maple or School Street, again in coordination with DPW and planning staff. And 2 trees will be donated to the town for future planting within the downtown corridor area as the town planning staff sees fit. So there will be a total of 4 trees. And then finally, we are donating a bench along Maple Street, location to be coordinated with planning staff. In conclusion, I think a great deal of time has gone into this project from the development team as well as the planning staff, and we appreciate staff's time working with us on this. The design of the project meets the intent and purpose of the DTC core zoning district. It is financially viable, which is, of course, important. We offer a mix of housing unit styles. We have a vibrant, active commercial and retail first floor space along the Maple Street frontage, and those, again, are currently vacant storefronts. We are preserving a historic building, and we're providing needed housing as well as 5 affordable housing units. I've indicated in the application the additional criteria for the special permit. I'm happy to go through that with you, but that's all in the application, and we do meet all of the criteria for the special permit. And finally, I'll just note that the applicant would be paying a transportation mitigation fee of $44,103. That's based on new square footage, as well as the water use mitigation fee. That's part of development in Danvers. And of course, the building permit fee will all be income going to the town in the form of fees for this project. So we would be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you very much, Attorney McCann. Yeah, questions from the board. Why don't we start with Jean?
Thanks for going over everything. It seems like most of what you presented in the spring is still included in the plans. For the landscape, I have a question. I know we talked about using the roof runoff for irrigation. Is that still part of the plan? Because I didn't see that in either the civil or the landscape plans.
I think the prior condition, which we would assume would be a condition here, is working with planning staff to implement rain barrels.
Okay.
And that's certainly part of this project, yes.
Okay. And as far as the public realm improvements, is there anything additional from what we discussed in the spring? Because I know we had talked about having one affordable unit above what was required, the trees, the sidewalk, and the bike racks.
We have the addition of the trees. We are doing the additional affordable unit, so we are doing that one above the requirement. And I don't believe we had proposed a bench previously. That's being added as a public realm improvement as well. And in this case, we are talking about just 6 additional residential units here over what was previously approved,
Right.
3 on each floor.
Yep. Okay, those were my only questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mike?
Sorry, I'm just going through my list of things, I guess. One of the questions I had was just for the architect, I guess, was one of the many questions, I guess. But the lobby size looks quite large, like it's the size of a 1-bedroom unit. Is there a reception desk in there, or is there? The only reason I ask is because the bike room only has 5 spots. Is there a reason the lobby's so large versus having like more bike storage, or is there just like, I'm just curious, like what the reasoning behind that was?
Could you,
Sid, you have to
come up
here.
with?
The lobby space is large. It's intended to have partial storage room in there as well, which is not shown in the current plans. And the bike storage, it's still the same size as what was shown originally, but we configured it with wall-hung racks, and I think I forget the number I gave you, Nancy, 30-plus bikes
Oh, I thought it said 5 on the plan.
It did say 5.
Oh, okay.
You're 100% correct on that, but we've looked at different systems for
Oh,
bike storage.
30 is great. 5 was concerning.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
It's very schematic in nature. We did develop plans for the units to make sure they worked and laid out, but the lobby, like I said, it'll be a partial storage room in there and just like a little waiting space.
That's fine. And then another question was parking. So I think you said it was 32 units. Is that correct? 30 units. So is there, I know there's tandem spots, which that's totally
Sorry.
fine.
Yeah, yeah.
30, I have no problem with that, but is there enough spots for everyone to get a spot without having to tandem park? Does that question make sense?
So I have my notes here on parking. Hang on. The bylaw allows 75% of the residential spaces to be tandem.
Yeah, I have no problem with the tandem. I'm just saying, does every unit have a spot without having to park, at least one spot without having to park tandem?
I think the answer is yes. They don't have to tandem with someone else.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was 32 units when I counted, so that was my confusion.
Yeah, no, there's 30 units. And just getting back to the bike storage, I think the legal ad actually said we were seeking a waiver for the bike storage. And that's because we didn't realize that we actually have enough space to meet the high parking rack, bike rack requirements. So we actually don't need that waiver anymore.
Okay.
Go ahead, Josh.
Just one comment on that, Mike. We had a similar conversation internally yesterday about the tandem and the residential, and I believe, and the applicant team could correct me, but I believe there was 18 two-bedrooms. So there's actually a condition where essentially none of the studios or one-bedrooms could have tandem park. So there's 18 tandem sets and there's 18 two-bedrooms. So none of the one-bedrooms or studios will have tandem park.
Right, so you wouldn't have to tandem park with your next-door neighbor.
It wouldn't,
That's
you know,
right.
it wouldn't,
No, that's fine.
in reality, you know, would like work. So there is a condition associated with that. I am hearing your concern.
Have the mechanical systems been looked at all? Like, is there going to be rooftop units on this? I just noticed there's not a large parapet on the building, so I'm just wondering about I don't have an issue with the height of the building. I'm just curious, is there going to be visible mechanical units?
There will be rooftop units, well, speculating right now, based on the systems we use to establish the interior layout. We typically practice to put them over corridors or common areas, so if you look at the plan, towards the back of the building, so to speak, is the core above the elevator and stairs. That would house any mechanical units we have. We're probably going to look at a multi-system, which would be a condenser that deals with maybe 4 units. So we wouldn't have one per unit. We'd have 4 smaller cubes. And like I said, it would be towards the back of the building.
And you know if they're electric or gas, or you haven't got that? Oh, they will be electric?
We'll all electric, yep.
Okay. Sorry for all the questions. Has there any conversation about mechanical for the retail spaces, so that one of the spaces could have a restaurant, like Black Iron, like Ducks or anything like that, so that there can be like restaurant spaces going into there for if they have to cook or anything like that, or are they not intended to have any restaurant spaces in any of the retail spaces?
We have not considered that, but it's looking more and more like there's a potential hardware store going back in there.
For the whole
For the whole
5?
space.
Oh, okay.
We have, the current plan showed 5 potential retail spaces, but it's looking like it might be just one large space for hardware store.
Okay, that's great. Another question I had was there any discussion about like any sort of like Juliet balconies or any balconies of having any sort of like outdoor space, or reasons pro or against that?
We was never part of the original design, and it's not, obviously not part of the current design, but there's never been discussion. We do Juliet balconies all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I was just curious what the reason was for or against it. I was just curious.
Architecturally, we feel like they work better when there's a bigger building, and they're kind of just spread out a little bit more. I think if we were to put, it's a little tough to tell here, but if you had to put one, be fair, so to speak, and put one per every unit, it would look a little too busy.
Sure. Okay. Attorney McCann, you mentioned a proportionate mix. Is the planning staff going to be involved in that proportionate mix designation of the affordable units? Or is that?
If they would like to do the math. Yeah, I mean, I'll work with Josh on the math. It's just the ratios of.
I'm just saying where they're located. Typically, like planning staffs or cities are involved in like the locations of those, just to make sure that they're not stuck in
Yeah, so.
not ideal locations?
Mike, just on that comment, we are trying to disperse, keep, not have them all in one building or one location. So of the 5, 1 will be in that 10 School Street.
Okay.
And
So
then
yes
four-
is the answer
Four,
there.
four,
That's
four,
fine.
4 will be in that front building.
Great. That was good. So, the only other, I had a few quick little architectural things, but there was like wood siding versus like the brick on the north and south elevations. I was just curious what the reason was for switching between the materials.
Was it wood or was it hardy? I thought it was like a hardy. Yeah,
Whatever,
but
clapboard.
Yeah, yeah.
You're talking about the upper
siding.
levels?
What's that? No, I'm talking about on the level 1, like you have
The Maple Street elevation?
Yeah.
Well, are you around the corner?
on both. It looks like the back side is the clapboard siding and the front is brick, and then they halfway around the building they kind of split. And I was just curious, like, if you could talk about kind of the design process on the side of the building. Probably your elevations is probably the best place to
Elevations,
see
sorry.
it. Yeah. You can't really tell in black and white, but maybe in the rendering.
title
Oh, on mine.
The title sheet, you can see it kind of on that north facade. Yeah, on the left side there.
So originally, we started out as just all brick on the ground level.
Yeah, I was curious what the reason was for
And
the
then as we
change.
dug into it and started to develop 5 individual retail spaces, so to speak, and having to achieve the glazing requirements, there was all of a sudden became a lot of glazing on the ground level, and we just tried to add some trim around it as opposed to just.
I'm talking on the sides of the buildings. Though you switched from a brick side.
Oh, I see now what you're saying.
Oh,
As
Like
you
a
go
hardy
further back,
siding. Yeah, I was just curious what the process was behind that.
I think we just kept it because you can't tell from that elevation is it actually jogs back a couple of feet.
Okay,
So it's
there's a
not,
step
it's not a
there.
continuous plane.
But on the other facade, it's just flat, right?
This side's just flat and the other side just brick all the way.
I don't.
Go down on the next page, Josh.
Yep.
Is it? No, it splits as well.
There you go.
Is the brick more expensive?
Brick is
Oh, I
more
see.
expensive, yes.
That's why.
Oh, so what you're seeing there is where it transitions, it's this entry that's set back. It's not the same.
Oh, that's
It's not the same
recessed.
plane as School Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not all in one facade that we're
No,
looking
no,
at it.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little misleading on that, on those drawings.
All right. I think that was it. The only other question, comment I guess I had was in the retail A space, I think, or whatever it was. The stair just kind of makes that retail space a little really awkward, but I know it's because of the units above, but that's not really my issue, but just a comment that I was making in general. But overall, I appreciate what you guys are doing with the project, and I'm excited to see new spaces and a new building. So thank you for your work. I appreciate it, and I have no further questions.
Okay. Jim?
Just had a question on I know it's a real tight lot, especially with tandem parking. Can you just review again snow storage and how you're going to deal with that on a snowstorm?
So there are really no opportunities for snow storage on the site, so any sort of snow would be removed from the site. They would have a contractor that would come in and do that.
So I'm just wondering, Josh, do we have to show that on a plan? Or do we have to, how do we, I guess, deal with that requirement?
Which requirement are you referring to?
Snow storage.
I mean,
Do we have to put something on the plan? I mean, how do you, obviously it's in your best interest to have it done, but as a practical matter, you have 37 spaces, and every time you get an all-day snowstorm, it's going to be an undertaking, to say the least. Everyone's going to have to move their car when the guy shows up and clear the alleyways, and where do the cars go while we're doing that? Because it is an extremely tight spot. So I just don't know. I mean, it would seem to me you would, for the benefit of the residents, want to have a pretty solid plan on how that's going to be dealt with. Because I manage some buildings and, not as big a lot, but with more storage than what you have. But just knowing that if your average, 6-inch storm, it's going to be an effort. And then they're going to be spilling out into the town roadways, and people aren't home, and just kind of having a plan I don't know if you thought about that.
It's something that we'd probably have to work out with the snow removal contractor. There is a municipal lot across the street that the cars could use while they plow quickly, and then move back in.
We certainly, as you know, have had many site plan approvals with the requirement that snow will be removed. In this case, we would take a condition that we'll work with planning staff to formulate a written snow removal plan and put that into place.
Yeah, I think it would save a lot of headaches, because
Yep.
it's going to be needed. Other than that, I don't have any other further questions.
Okay. Tim?
Unsurprisingly, everyone else has already asked all of my questions, so that's great. One quick question would be, you mentioned there's potential for a hardware tenant. Do you have any idea of other tenants yet? Just curious.
Anything other than hardware thinking of going in there? At this point, the hardware is looking at taking the entire space.
Oh, interesting. Replace an old hardware store with a new hardware store. And so what would that look? That would obviously change the facade in terms of, you'd had 5 entryways to one hardware
Potentially.
store? Okay.
Yeah.
Just fill it in too.
Sounds good. No, I think this is great. I think this is a really great example of, it's been nice to go from the last meeting to this meeting, and we mentioned bike parking, there's bike parking. We mentioned the north elevation windows, there's windows. We mentioned public realm improvements, there's more. So all these improvements are really appreciated, and yeah, it looks like a great plan, so thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have just a few, few questions, and again, I'll echo what some of my colleagues have said as well in terms of the appreciating the care that went into this as well, in terms of the also, I understand this is a new plan from what we had earlier this year, but to incorporate what we'd really worked out and talked about at our last meeting when it was not involving the Cakes for Occasion site. So particularly, I appreciated the addition, the continued addition of the affordable unit as a public realm improvement. So I thought that was definitely appreciate that, because we are in need of in need of additional housing. And I am excited as well by the in terms of the of a potential for a hardware store coming back. I mean, even having lived in areas even in DC where you see these hardware stores in sort of in residential areas where there are people living, where it's which is it really, that's something, even as someone who lives not that far from this area, miss the ability to go and go to a store, purchase paint, go and being able to. I think that's a great amenity for people, particularly who live nearby. Just a question, I guess, is in terms of the with respect to the sort of the park, sort of the park in the back. That's dedicated for the residents. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, and is there going to be any sort of? I mean, will it be? I mean, is it going to be gated, or you have to get there through the parking lot? How would one?
I believe you get through it through the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
You may also be able to access out the back of 10 School Street.
Sure.
Out of that building, but otherwise it's within what will be. This will be very much a residential component in the
Sure.
rear. You will have this beautiful new residential entrance
Mm-hmm.
at the back of 63 Maple Street, and then you've got 10 School Street, which is entirely residential. So that really becomes a really nice residential area with some nice, beautiful new landscaping. So that'll be kind of their area.
Nice. Okay, great. And that definitely, I think it'll make it more, I think it'll make it more attractive to people as a place to, nice place to live.
Yeah.
So, did have a question that did come in, and this is, we're going to turn things over for, this is a public hearing, so for public questions and comments. But I did have, we did receive a question, or really a comment from a from a resident. It's in the packet, but it was from Annette Collins, who's a town meeting member, Precinct 1. And just a question that she had raised with respect to, and I sort of echo a concern as well, just in terms of ramifications, traffic issues that may affect the neighborhoods during the construction and thereafter. And so, she sent an email which has said that our area, that went into our board packet, that our area already has heavy volumes of vehicles sent by apps to avoid the downtown. It could possibly get much worse, and in anticipation of such scenarios, I ask you all, considering planning in advance. Personally, I would like to see the town implement more restrictions in heavily populated areas such as ours ahead of planned project as opposed to a reflex action after the fact. Thank you for consideration you may give to the issue of traffic while considering the downtown project. So I guess a question I have, though, is what is the, during the course of construction and such, what measures will be taken to, sort of traffic mitigation or, concerns about people cutting through side streets and such to avoid this area?
This was a condition in the prior decision, and we would certainly take it as a condition in this application, is there will be the requirement for a construction sequencing plan to be submitted, and that's reviewed by planning staff as well as DPW. There is a pre-construction meeting that would take place so that we all know how the construction will proceed forward once it starts.
Okay.
There will be work with regard to the public sidewalk and how that will be managed. That is typically done through planning staff as well as potentially select board. So those coordination efforts will happen, but I think there was a condition, I know there was a condition in the prior decision that there could be in this decision as well.
That's right.
And I believe it's already in the draft.
Is it, Josh? I thought there was a reference to a construction sequencing plan, but what's?
Yeah, so I guess I could, for information, I could read the condition that's currently in the draft. This is from a similar conversation that we had in the spring. Prior to a demolition permit being granted, the applicant must submit a construction phasing and sequencing schedule to be reviewed and approved by town staff.
Okay. Great, okay, yeah, because that's a concern. We just want to make sure that the residents won't be adversely affected during the course of the construction.
That's right.
Okay, got it, okay. I don't have any further questions myself. I think this is, I appreciate the work that went into this project, and I think this will be an improvement for the town. But I do, it's a public hearing, so if any members of the public here would like to speak or have any questions or comments, they can raise their hand. And Mr. Bradstreet? Oh. Mr. Trask following.
No, please. Again, Bill Bradstreet, town meeting member, Precinct 1. It's nice and certainly appreciated that all of the affordable units are going to be there. I hope they're dispersed, not on one level. It's nice that the developer's going to donate some trees to the town. Will the town then be responsible for the trees, or can a developer help with their maintenance? I've seen trees put down in the square and they're left to die. I'd hate to see a stump or an empty spot where a tree was supposed to be and it's gone. The other thing was about the parking. I know it was stated that the on-street parking in that area can be counted. In the event of the snowstorm, we were talking about no parking on the street. I guess my question would be, where are these people going to move to? I know it's up to them to find a parking spot, but I would, considering how many cars might be involved, I would be a little concerned with that, along with the plowing and getting ready. We know that if it's plowed, there are the berms that block the side of the road.
I can ask Attorney McKeon just to address the parking question, I guess, in terms of in terms of street parking? Just to, I guess, street parking concerns with respect to, as it relates to snow. I guess if you have a snow emergency or that sort of thing.
Well, the street parking, the 4 spaces along Maple Street are existing public parking spaces.
okay.
They will remain public parking spaces. But because they're along our frontage, the bylaw allows us to count them toward the commercial parking spaces.
Right, toward the commercial parking.
Towards the commercial only. All of our residential required spaces are on site, and 6 of our 10 commercial spaces are on site.
Got it.
But 4 of them will be along Maple Street. They will be plowed and maintained and whatever the way commercial spaces along Maple Street are now, because they are now public spaces. They will be public spaces. They will not be signed as reserved or anything like that.
Okay. So, and just, just to clarify, I guess, for the public, it would be so any concerns, it would be, any residential spots would be on-site, off-street parking?
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Bradstreet, anything further?
Just, it's nice that there's going to be a bike rack down there. I guess I missed where it's going to be. Is it public, private? Is it for the development, or is it for the public to use? And depending on, again, the weather, I don't see many people pedaling a bicycle in the winter, but what happens with the bikes and the racks if that were to happen?
Chairman McCann, do you want to address that?
We have indoor residential bike racks. Under the bylaw, we have to have 30 of those, and we do have a room that will have 30 indoor bike racks for 30. We also are providing a public bike rack along the sidewalk, and we'll work with planning staff as to the appropriate location. That will be open to the public. For, you want to ride your bike to the hardware store, you'll have a place to put your bike. And it will be a bike rack that I think there is some coordination with planning staff so that there's some uniformity as to the bike racks that are going to be located downtown. So it will be just a public bike rack that we are donating to this area to have commercial bike parking.
Got it. And the location of which will be, as I think it's going to be written as a condition, will be determined by town staff?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
No, that's it for now. Thank you. I'm sure
Okay.
there'll be another occasion.
Thank you, Mr. Bradstreet. Mr. Trask?
Gardner Trask, 31 Fellows Street resident. And I want to come up and speak in favor of this for a couple of reasons. I thought there'd be some turnout from based on social media and so on and so forth. And I had spoken to this before. As most of you know, I was previously the chairman of the Affordable Housing Committee. And so I do appreciate the affordable housing, bumping up the affordable housing stack number. To answer Mr. Bradstreet's question, by state law, the affordable housing units are to be dispersed equally amongst the number of bedroom units. So it's proportionate to the 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms, and it's also by law indistinguishable from any other unit. So there's no way to identify it ahead of time. People have been talking about the size and the height on social media, and I want to kind of address that. I did reach out to Attorney McCann for some details about the project. This will be 35 feet. And people talk about the character of downtown, how we're changing downtown with these new developments, so on and so forth. And I want to remind people that the character of downtown is important. We don't want some of the issues people often refer to Rantoul Street and that, but Beverly allows for 5 stories. We're capped. And I want you to put in perspective the fact that this is 35 feet. Well, the fire station's 55 feet. The former Danvers, the M&T Bank, which was formerly the Danvers Bank on Conant Street, is 33 feet high. Tompkins, right next door, 30 feet high at that peak. It slopes down at the back, but at the peak, it's 30 feet. At the street level, it's 30 feet. right across the street, 44 Maple Street. Modern Butchery is between two large buildings. The new one on the right, 42 feet, and to the left of it, where Glitterati is 42 feet. So this building is actually going to be shorter than its neighbors. Yes, there's some 2 stories that are right there. There's some others around there, but it's not out of character. It's not it's not a Rosewood Tower in a residential neighborhood. So it's within character based on the size. And all in all, I said this before and I'll say it again, I congratulate the planning board for the foresight to go after and help us craft multi-use zoning. Having served 18 years on the board, having served before that in a town meeting, I saw Danvers downtown decaying and drying up. COVID set it in motion. When you lose a Dunkin' Donuts, that's like, how do you fail at owning a casino? It's pretty damn hard. When a Dunkin' Donut closes, you know you've lost something, just in foot traffic. And we talk about parking, we talk about foot traffic. And by adopting multi-use, we're going to have livable downtown. There is a need for housing. We've all heard, not just affordable housing, but just in general, people talk about, I want to live in Danvers. I want my family to live in Danvers. A new school teacher, a firefighter, a police professional wants to live in town. Where are they going to find stock? And this is going to help with that. Maple Square, 142 units. This, 30 units. I know around the corner at Murphy's, the one that's been approved for 5 more units. That's going to bring 300 to 400 people living downtown who will leave their homes on a Sunday morning and walk downtown to have breakfast. They'll go out at night and have a drink and listen to live music. It will revitalize downtown. And I'm very, very happy to, whatever part I may have helped do or play in that, I'm really excited. As a matter of fact, I walked downtown today because a year ago, 2 years ago, people were complaining about the empty storefronts, the decaying facade of Cakes for Occasion, empty hardware store, empty iPods left. People moved. I walked downtown and counted from Western Cycle all the way down to the square, take a right onto Elm, and go all the way to Town Hall. There are 79 ground level storefronts. There are only 3 vacancies right now, not counting the ones that are obviously under obligation, like the hardware store and others that are planned that show. Only 3. I spoke to this morning to one of 2 brand new restaurants that are opening up. One in the old Ipazi place, one a couple of doors down right after Maple Street Cafe. Both of them are citing the fact that they know growth is coming to the square. That's exactly, tonight I spoke to the person at it's new Viculars. That's the old Ipazi. He said specifically when he was doing his marketing study, when he was looking, he saw that Danvers is going to have multi-use. And he came from Salem, where it revitalized Salem. So I support this. I think it's an important thing. I think it's an important thing to continue with the multi-use, and I appreciate the board's efforts to help get that passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Nova? Yeah.
Nova Salmon, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. I may have brought this up in the spring, I'm not sure, but in regards to landscaping, if there's consideration for at least a significant portion be native planting, trees, shrubs, perennials. They are good for our birds, bees, native wildlife, and they also require less maintenance once they're established when it comes to watering and the such.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. I was going to ask to see if they can address that point.
Yeah, that's a great point, and we do, in fact, have at least 90% of the plants, if not 100%, are native plants. We've got elm trees, maples, red maple, American sycamore, American linden, so that those are kind of like the tree varieties that we've got planned. American holly, which is a native plant, eastern red cedar. We do have some arborvitaes, which are sort of native, sort of not native, but bayberry, clethra, sweet fern, gray owl juniper, the red twig dogwoods, arrowwood viburnum, little blue stem. So I would say about 90% of our palette is a native plant palette, and for some of those reasons as well, too.
Great. Good. Great to hear. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments by members of the public? Okay. Hearing none, I'll come back to the board. Any further questions or comments? Mike?
I think I'm all set. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Jean?
All set, thank you.
Jim?
I was thinking we could name the bench William Nicholson bench. There's no opposition to that.
Nice move.
I think that would be a nice gesture. Yeah. We can do that? Excellent.
great.
Okay. Include that as a condition, so it's in the record. Excellent. Perfect. Yeah.
It's a suggestion. not-
Okay.
I mean,
I could one.
yeah.
Very good. You can make
I
note
don't
of it.
think we can force you to name it.
No, that's fine. That's a very nice, thank you for accepting that suggestion. Very good, thank you. Okay, very good. Well, I think that's, hearing nothing further, we have a special permit request as well as the site plan approval. So first of all, we will need a motion to close the public hearing on the grant of the special permit for 55 and 63 Maple Street, 10 School Street, and 6 Pillsbury Avenue. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, so let's move on to the special permit itself. So for 55 and 63 Maple Street, 10 School Street, and 6 Pillsbury Avenue. So Jean?
Date of application, August 14th, 2024. Date of hearing, September 24th, 2024. Date of decision, September 24th, 2024. This is to certify that at a meeting of the Danvers Planning Board held on September 24th, 2024, having been requested under Section 18.4.b and 18.5.d.5.a of the zoning bylaw for property located at 55 Maple Street, Assessors Map 43, Lot 179, 63 Maple Street, Assessors Map 43, Lot 178, 10 School Street, Assessors Map 43 Lot 182 and 6 Pillsbury Ave, Assessors Map 43 Lot 176. It was voted to approve the request submitted by North Street Development, LLC, for special permits to allow a mixed-use building and multifamily building shown on the following plans. Building proposal 55 to 63 Maple Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by DMS Design, LLC, dated August 8th, 2024, consisting of 7 sheets. Building renovation, 10 School Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by DMS Design LLC, dated April 23rd, 2024, consisting of 3 sheets. Permit site plan, 63 Maple Street, 55 Maple Street, 10 School Street, 6 Pillsbury Ave, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by Hancock Associates, dated March 12th, 2024, revised to September 23rd, 2024, consisting of 12 sheets. Supporting materials include lighting plan and associated detail sheets, stormwater report prepared by Hancock Associates dated March 2024, revised to July 2024, and traffic memo prepared by Hancock Associates dated March 3rd, 2024. Waivers from Section 18. 1. Waiver of Table 18-1, Residential Density by Character-Based Zoning District. The Planning Board grants a waiver and a special permit for the development to exceed the special permit density of 24 units per acre, 20 residential units, to 36 units per acre, 30 residential units. The public benefits provided with this development are the following. A, replacement of existing sidewalk along Maple Street and School Street frontages. B, new sidewalk and curbing to connect with existing sidewalk on School Street frontage. C, 1 additional affordable housing unit above what is required for a total of 5 affordable housing units. D, 4 street trees. 2 of the trees will be planted/installed along Maple Street and/or School Street. The applicant will provide 2 trees for future planting/installation by the town in another location in Danvers Town Center Court, DTCC area, all to be coordinated with the Danvers Department of Public Works, DPW. E, 1 bench. Town staff will determine an appropriate location for the placement of the bench. Should the meeting go there or later?
Yeah, maybe.
What's it?
Should we put that there? Should I say the bench will be named in honor of William/Bill Nicholson?
William Nicholson.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The bench will be named in honor of William Nicholson.
Thank you.
Special permits. 1, Section 18.4.b, density bonus requirements. The planning board grants a waiver and a special permit for the development to, I already read that.
Well, it's
Oh, okay.
the first thing's a waiver, and then this is a special part. It's part.
Sorry.
I know it's duplicate.
I got lost
but-
from the bench.
No, it's fine. It is
Okay.
the same thing, but it's because one's a waiver and one's the special permit itself. So
Okay.
we should probably just read it, I guess.
The planning board grants a waiver and a special permit for the development to exceed the special permit density of 24 units per acre, 20 residential units, to 36 units per acre, 30 residential units. The public benefit provided with this development are the following. A, replacement of existing sidewalk along Maple Street and School Street frontages. B, new sidewalk and curbing to connect with existing sidewalk on School Street frontage. C, 1 additional affordable housing unit above what is required for a total of 5 affordable housing units. D, 4 street trees. 2 of the trees will be planted/installed along Maple Street and/or School Street. The applicant will provide 2 trees for future planting/installation by the town in another location in Danvers Town Center Core, DTCC area, all to be coordinated with the Danvers Department of Public Works, DPW. E, 1 bench. Town staff will determine an appropriate location for the placement of the bench, to be named for William Nicholson. 2, Section 18.5.d.5.a, parking reduction methods, on-street parking offset. The planning board grants a special permit pursuant to Section 18.5.d.5.a of the zoning bylaw, parking reduction methods, on-street parking offset, to allow 4 parking spaces located along the corresponding lot frontage to meet the minimum parking requirements. The following criteria have been considered. A, the supply and demand of public and private parking in the district. B, mobility management programs and services. C, that parking provided in excess of the minimum requirement does not result in underutilized spaces, excessive impervious services. Zoning regulations of the planning board. The planning board finds the project to be in substantial compliance with Section 7, character-based zoning district design standards of the zoning regulations of the planning board. Conditions of approval. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to issuance of a building permit, this special permit decision shall be recorded at the Southern Essex Registry of Deeds. 2, prior to a demolition permit being granted, the applicant must submit a construction phasing and sequencing schedule to be reviewed and approved by town staff. 3, prior to the issuance of a building permit and pursuant to Section 18.11.d, transportation mitigation fee of the Danvers zoning bylaw, the applicant and/or property owner shall provide a payment of $44,103, which is the transportation mitigation fee associated with the new square footage, 14,701 square feet, times $3 per each square foot of increased net floor area. If the net new square footage is modified, the payment amount will also be amended. 4, the applicant will provide 1 additional affordable residential unit beyond the required 4 for a total of 5 affordable residential units. The affordable residential units shall be evenly dispersed throughout the project so that not all of the affordable residential units are located in one building. If the number of net new residential units is modified, the unit contribution and/or payment amount will also be amended. Prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy, the 7th residential unit in the 10 School Street building, Phase 1, the application and/or developer shall provide 1 affordable housing unit. Prior to the certificate of occupancy of the 18th residential unit in 55 to 63 Maple Street building, Phase 2, the applicant and/or developer shall provide 4 affordable housing units. The required 4 affordable residential units are based on the number of net new 28 residential units pursuant to Section 29 affordable housing provisions of the zoning bylaw. 5, the project may be constructed in phases as shown on the construction phasing plan, C7. Prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy, CO, for 10 School Street, Phase 1, all parking and driveways serving Phase 1 shall be completed to the binder course and to the satisfaction of the building commissioner. Prior to certificate of occupancy, CO, for 55 to 63 Maple Street, Phase 2, all public related items, including but not limited to the new sidewalks, repaving portions of Maple Street and/or School Street, must be complete to the satisfaction of the town Danvers Department of Public Works, DPW. 6, the applicant will coordinate with the Danvers Electric Division regarding new light infrastructure downtown. 7, the applicant will provide a bike rack, minimum 4 bikes, as a streetscape improvement for the downtown. Town staff will determine an appropriate location for the placement of the bike rack. 8, the applicant will work with planning staff to implement water conservation measures such as but not limited to rain barrels for the purpose of irrigating the pocket park. 9, the applicant will install a water spigot in the vicinity of the pocket park. 10, the buildings will be smoke-free facilities. 11, hardy board or cement fiber siding will be installed on the entire exterior of 10 School Street. 12, prior to endorsement of the site plan, the circulation of the entire parking lot must be modified to one-way traffic. There shall be do not enter signs on the curb, on the exit curb cut closest to Maple Street. 13, the tandem parking spaces cannot be reserved for studio units or one-bedroom units. 14, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated September 16, 2024. 15, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Electric Division memorandum dated September 19, 2024.
Gene, one last, and remember, we have that condition as well.
Yep.
The applicant will work with planning staff to create a written snow removal plan.
Okay.
To create a formal snow removal plan. Is that satisfactory?
Formal. So the applicant will work with town staff to create a formal snow removal plan.
Okay.
I'll add it. Yep.
And 16, if there are any changes to the approved plans, the use or the conditions on premises, planning staff will review. If deemed a major change by staff, the applicant will have to apply for a modification to application to the special permit. Any approval of these special permits shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date.
Very good. It's been moved. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. Just a quick thing, I know it's been moved and seconded before we have a vote. Just a question, Jim, you had a question with respect to 3, was that?
Is that a new requirement, Josh, or is that part of the bylaw? The transportation mitigation fee?
Yeah, that was from the vote, the February of 2020. So the original like downtown zoning.
Yeah.
That was part of that.
This is the first time we've seen it, so it's really just applying to downtown zoning?
No.
At Murphy's.
Yep.
Fruit Market.
Oh.
Yep.
There.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Because it's net new. So that's sometimes when there's redevelopment, if there's not net new, it only applies to the net. So sometimes if there's a redevelopment project downtown, if there's not net new, then it's not applicable. So
Okay.
yeah.
And that goes to the towns?
There's we have a transportation fund that's supposed to do stuff, focusing on doing
Traffic type of maintenance?
traffic and/or anything related to downtown improvement, but obviously with the focus on the transportation piece. It's pretty general what we can do with it, but the focus is downtown transportation. If we want to do bike, very similar to the conversation we had tonight with the bike racks, and if we want to do other things of that nature, if we want to do sidewalks or there's a decent amount of this public realm stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? No? Good. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, the special permit passes. So let's move on to the site plan. So site plan review for 55 and 63 Maple Street, 10 School Street, and 6 Pillsbury Avenue. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on the site plan review?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, let's move on then to the motion for the site plan review of 55 and 63 Maple Street, 10 School Street, and 6 Pillsbury Avenue. Jean?
Date of application, August 14th, 2024. Date of hearing, September 24th, 2024. Date of decision, September 24th, 2024. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by North Street Development, LLC, for property at 55 Maple Street, Assessors Map 43, Lot 179, 63 Maple Street, Assessors Map 43, Lot 178, 10 School Street, Assessors Map 43, Lot 182, and 6 Pillsbury Ave, Assessors Map 43, Lot 176, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plans. Building proposal 63 to 65 Maple Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by DMS Design LLC, dated August 8th, 2024, consisting of 7 sheets. Building renovation 10 School Street, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by DMS Design LLC, April 23rd, 2024, consisting of 3 sheets. Permit site plan, 63 Maple Street, 55 Maple Street, 10 School Street, 6 Pillsbury Avenue, Danvers, Mass. 01923, prepared by Hancock Associates, dated March 12th, 2024, revised to September 23rd, 2024, consisting of 12 sheets. Supporting materials include lighting plan and associated detail sheets, stormwater report prepared by Hancock Associates, dated March 2024, revised to July 2024, and traffic memo prepared by Hancock Associates, dated March 3rd, 2024. The following submissions requirements have been waived. 1. Section 4.3.2 Site Analysis Plan. The site analysis plan is entitled The Existing Conditions of Land in Danvers, Mass. C2. Soil testing locations and results are shown on the site construction plan, C5, and utilities plan, C6. 2. Section 4.3.3, Dimensional Regulations Plan. The Dimensional Regulations Plan prepared by a registered professional engineer instead of a registered land surveyor. 3. Section 4.3.4, Site Construction Plan. The dimension of drives, parking areas, and curb cuts is not shown on the Dimensional Regulations Plan, C5. A table indicating amounts of earth material that are to be removed, added, or reused on site in cubic feet is not shown. 4. Section 4.3.6, Utilities Plan. The profile of the water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater pipes is not shown on the plan. 5. Section 4.3.7, Landscape Plan. The methods for protecting plant material during construction is shown on detail sheet C8. The yard setbacks and table showing the percentage of existing and proposed of impervious surface is shown on the Dimensional Regulations Plan, C4. 6. Section 4.3.8, Off-Street Parking and Loading Plan. No off-street and loading plans submitted. The number, location, and dimensions of driveways and parking spaces is shown on the Dimensional Regulations Plan, C4, and Site Construction Plan, C5. The construction details and type of materials for surface paving is shown on the detail sheet, C8. A parking table is shown on the Dimensional Regulations Plan, C4. 7. Section 4.3.9, Lighting Plan. Lighting details shown on the cut sheet. Conditions of approval. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1. Prior to issuance of a building permit, this site plan decision shall be recorded at the Southern Essex Registry of Deeds. 2. Prior to a demolition permit being granted, the applicant must submit a construction phasing and sequencing schedule to be reviewed and approved by town staff. 3. The project may be constructed in phases as shown on the construction phasing plan, C7. Prior to issuance of the Certificate of Occupancy, CO, for 10 School Street, Phase 1, all parking and driveway serving Phase 1 shall be completed to the binder course and to the satisfaction of the building commissioner prior to Certificate of Occupancy, CO, for 55 to 63 Maple Street, Phase 2, all public-related items, including but not limited to the new sidewalks, repaving portions of Maple Street and/or School Street, must be completed to the satisfaction of the town, Danvers Department of Public Works, DPW. 4. The applicant will coordinate with the Danvers Electric Division regarding new light infrastructure downtown. 5. The applicant will provide a bike rack, minimum 4 bikes, as a streetscape improvement for the downtown. Town staff will determine an appropriate location for the placement of bike rack. 6. The applicant will work with planning staff to implement water conservation measures such as, but not limited to, rain barrels for the purpose of irrigating the pocket park. 7. The applicant will install a water spigot in the vicinity of the pocket park. 8. Hardy board or cement fiber siding will be installed on the entire exterior of 10 School Street. 9, prior to endorsement of the site plan, the circulation of the entire parking lot must be modified to one-way traffic. There shall be do not enter signs on the exit curb cut closest to Maple Street. 10, the tandem parking spaces cannot be reserved for studio units or one-bedroom units. 11, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated September 16th, 2024. 12, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Electric Division memorandum dated September 19th, 2024. 13,
Yeah, that the snow removal.
Yep. The applicant will work with planning staff to create a formal snow removal plan. Is that what we agreed to?
and if there are any changes to the approved plans, the use or the conditions on premises, planning staff will review. If deemed a major change by staff, the applicant will have to apply for a new application for site plan review. This project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Any approval of this site plan review shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date.
Very good, thank you, Jean. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good, second by Jim. There we go. On this motion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Site plan review passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So I think our next agenda item here are minutes. I think, Josh, we had 2 sets of minutes that were provided, so. We still have a meeting going on? Oh, thank you. Thanks. Okay. So our meeting, we have meeting minutes from May 14th, 2024 and June 11th, 2024. Is that right, Josh?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. I'd like to, has everyone had the chance to review them? Okay.
Move to accept the May 14th, 2024 minutes.
Okay. Jim's moved. Is there a second? Second? Okay, second by Jean. Any discussion? Okay. None? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I figured Gene needed a break.
All right, the next one, meeting minutes of June 11th, 2024. Can I entertain a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Jim moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jean. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. That's it on the agenda for the, for our meeting. Josh, anything new in terms of next meetings?
Yep.
And I know we have there's potentially a land use summit coming up, is that right? Or-
Yes, that's right. So I knew that, sorry for not giving you a little bit more time, I knew that we were going to meet tonight. So yes, the land use summit is going to be in the same date and time as our next scheduled meeting on October 8th.
Okay.
So instead of, there will be no applications, the land use summit will be the only item of the evening. The zoning board will be invited, I believe the select board, and I believe the conservation commission, and it will be in here at 7 p.m. on, just like our regular meeting on October 8th.
And so it will be actually, so this will be, I have to see if I
Sure.
can understand this. So this will be will it be a planning board meeting, or I'm just?
No, no, it will have to be, we are going to advertise it as a public meeting,
Yes.
because so that you can all attend and
Sure.
from a quorum standpoint.
I will.
But that's right, Jean will not be here.
Or you'll not be in-
But it will kind of be like, it will be like a joint meeting of different groups. So,
Will it be town staff be moderating?
yeah,
or how
yep,
is that?
yep, it will be town staff, Aaron, I believe, and I'm not sure, at least Aaron and/or Brian, and will be facilitating and/or talking.
And what are some of the topics that will?
Yeah, so I think some of the things that I think one of the main items is just what we're kind of thinking about from potential zoning amendments that we're potentially internally discussing about bringing forward. And I think on paper right now, we're contemplating having or very likely having like a town meeting in February of 2025 So I think at least one of the items, if not the main item, hope I'm not speaking out of turn, is just talking about some of the ideas that we have. We have a couple zoning kind of language amendments that we've been working on internally, and just sharing them with everyone. Hey, is this something that we're interested in doing? Get a feel for.
Will there be an open agenda item as well, in essence, so that, like, if there, like, open session or something like that?
I believe that there will be an opportunity, right, for, I think part
us.
of it is, hey, feedback. I think a big piece of it is getting feedback from everyone. Yes, no. What about, why aren't we, what about this? What about focusing on zoning amendments or changes, or from a planning perspective, hey, when are we going to start talking about the mall? When are we fixing the mall and all those kind of some bigger, broader planning policy initiative ideas? I think that is a component of the evening. So
Yeah, will there be an outline of sorts in advance? So
yeah, I believe so. And I'm hoping we will have some type of at least on paper agenda of some nature prior to the evening. So.
Okay.
So would that be the place to bring up if we wanted to require EV parking?
Yeah, for sure. Or like, hey, yeah, for sure. Those types of, that's like not that I'm calling it simple, but, that probably would be more of a simpler item.
Now, if staff are not, now if also members are not going to be able to attend.
Yep.
I know Jean will not.
Sure.
Can she send
Yeah.
over comments
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
questions to you, Josh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's completely fine.
I believe when this was originally planned, there were some slides sent around.
Okay.
Are those still relevant?
Potentially. I could confirm a little
so
at the
help
end
you
of this
guys,
week or early next week, yes.
It's been a while since I looked at those.
Similar.
Resend it or something like that.
Sure,
Have
yeah.
some packet that we can review in
Yeah.
advance. That would be helpful.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Will
And
all
so-
of you be able to, I know, so Jean will be, will the rest of you be able to attend? Okay, great.
Awesome. So that's the October 8th, and then October 22nd, the second meeting in October is the item that we continued tonight.
Okay.
And also internally, we are sort of working on.
So that's 55 Liberty Street. We'll be back.
55 Liberty Street will be on the meeting on October 22nd. The other potential item, either that evening or maybe that November 1st meeting, is we have been working on trying to update the subdivision rules and regulations. They're the ones that we currently have on the books as we speak right now, even though being recorded, are from 1979.
Okay.
So we are trying to update those, so if and when a new subdivision comes into town, that it's meeting our kind of current standards. So we will. That will be an item, and that will be an internal item that the board does have to vote on to update. So we are working with the engineering team, as a joint kind of venture to.
That would be potentially discussed at October 22nd meeting?
Potentially, yes,
Okay.
or November. Either the 2nd October or early November. We will give everyone a draft of what we've put together. So.
Okay.
No, as we speak, no other official applications as we speak.
Okay.
That changes every day, so.
Okay.
Didn't you say there was going to be one for High Street?
What's that at?
It's a single-family home.
Oh, I mean, is this the single-family home that has like the sign? It's like at the
Yeah.
architectural office that has the sign? Sort of like,
We're not really supposed to talk about things that aren't official.
Okay, sorry.
But no, it's fine. But I haven't received anything about it.
so
But
there's nothing official on the,
yeah,
Or the Carmelite.
like I said, nothing official, so we shouldn't be talking about things that aren't official. Maybe on that note.
there's nothing official, so do
still
you
don't know
have
what
nothing
any of
further,
this
Josh? You can say no.
Not at this time, I don't think. No.
All right, anything else for any?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay, thank you all for your time tonight. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say none. All right. This meeting is closed. Have a good night, everybody.